Okay, I guess Nick just won't.
The music's playing. I don't know.
It's not playing anymore. Jesus.
Welcome everyone to Sunset City, a Sonic podcast where fun is infinite. With me today, fun is infinite. And fun is infinite. And also Batman Dog. How's everybody doing today?
I don't know yet.
I'm very confused. I'm scared.
Well,
will I dream?
Understandable. Well, guys, as you know, Sonic Colors just came out, and we, a Sonic podcast, have decided we are done with it. So instead, we're going to talk about Sonic CD, a very non-controversial Sonic game.
Nobody's infinite, guys.
We've
Colors is infinite.
Colors infinite. Wait, hold on. But Infinite was the most fun villain in Sonic in that one game we're not supposed to talk about.
I mean, let's be real. Like, he'd be way more engaging if they put the Majin face on him.
He'd be way more engaging if he didn't fucking suck.
If he never spoke and he just had that face, and then the boss music just played every time he was on stage. Like that, I would love that. Like, that's how they took over the world. Like, every time he showed up, everyone just ran away. Like, I can't... Fuck.
He is not
Anyway,
weak.
That's why he wears the mask. He said his face was unsightly, and there it is.
Anyway,
God.
so as we've just recently established last week, and we're going to talk about it again today, we appreciate everybody who's hanging out with us live on YouTube and giving us some super chats and asking questions and things of that nature. But still, we can keep a flow of conversation going, especially on a retrospective episode like today. We're going to be saving the super chats until later on, after we're done with the main discussion. So we wanted to let you guys know we sincerely appreciate the support you give us, but just for the sake of whoever's listening to this, we're going to save it for other things, and then, give you the time that you deserve with your questions.
We're
So-
loading them as well. Don't worry. We won't.
Yeah, we got all of them saved. So that said,
We're talking about Sonic 2 today, or Spider-Man 2 today, right?
I swear to God,
Oh man, that looks so good, right?
it looks so good.
I'm so stoked.
Two Spider Boys.
Yeah, it's not going to be multiplayer though, but that's fine.
That's okay.
looking
I
forward to
wasn't
what they
expecting
do.
it to.
Guys, who wants to talk about a brand new game when we could talk about something made in 1993?
Also,
To be fair,
Wolverine on
Sonic
PS5
CD
as well. Like,
Sonic CD is a fascinating game. It's probably one of the most interesting early titles to talk about, just based off its concepts alone.
so I
I
never
think-
played the original Knights of the Old Republic, but I'm looking forward to this remake.
So I will have to say this: as far as Sonic CD is concerned, this is the game that proves that Sonic had a rough transition into 2D.
You had a rough transition onto the CD format. I don't know what you're talking about.
He had a rough transition into existence.
Uh,
Sonic was born once. It was bad.
oh my god. Oh my god. All right. Well, let's yeah. I guess just initial impressions, because I know we've been talking about trying to do this thing for weeks now. And I think Cirrus and Wayne, has this been your first time making it through the game?
Correct.
Yeah,
yeah.
it was.
For this podcast. It was the first time that I ever actually finished Sonic CD to a capacity. I'll get further into that.
Yeah. So it's the same with me. Like I have not done a full like go through and get all the generators playthrough. But every single time that I sat down and tried to play Sonic CD prior to having the motivation to do it with this show, I had not gotten to the end of it. I always got frustrated and then just went, okay, I'm done today. We're not doing this.
But
So I long ago played it with all the generators, and recently I played it. I did some generators, but I didn't generally bother too much with it. So I've got a bit of experience either way.
okay. Well, being the old man in the room, I definitely have the most experience with the game. I didn't own it as a kid. I didn't own a Sega CD, but my uncle did, so I got to play it when I could, and I found it fascinating. And then when the Gems collection was coming out on GameCube, that it was a big deal that game was on there, because it was trapped for forever on the CD.
Yep.
So that was an instant purchase for me, because it had I finally could reconnect with CD, could finally reconnect with R, which I loved despite all of its flaws, and for the first time could play Sonic Fighters. But Yeah, no, I've definitely spent the time with CD. I understand the issues people have with it, but I definitely still love it because it is a very very strange game, and of course has some other things that I will forever remember and cherish, which we'll get into as we carry on here. So,
I think it's
yeah.
funny that like if you does anybody here remember ages ago, back when Screw Attack used to do like a bunch of top 10 lists.
Yeah, I remember really loving their music choices. I don't know, they had a style. There was a vibe to that that I feel like has been lost over the years.
Fair. There was the earliest I heard about Sonic CD was actually when they did a top 10, like top 10 best Sonic games of all time, and of course we had all of the usual like the 2D game's good, 3D game's bad. Oh, but except for Adventure, that one is okay. But I remember like the top game in there was Sonic CD, and this is back when I was like a lot younger, a lot more influenced by creators on platforms, and a lot of my opinions ended up just being grafted versions of theirs. So I was just like, oh yeah, no, Sonic CD, it's the best one, and yet I'd never actually played it. I played it after watching that video about a year later. I played it on my friend's Gems Collection CD for a little bit, but I never owned it, so I never got a chance to sit down and play through it. But I always just like was grabbing onto that opinion. I was like, yeah, CD is wonderful. They were right about Mario 3 being the best Mario game, so they must be right here too. And then, now I'm an adult and I'm like, wow, Young Cirrus was an idiot.
That's how that goes. Yeah, no, it's weird how much how much praise that game got specifically, but I mean, kind of goes to show you what kind of options we really had in the early 90s when it came to platformers, because it really was Mario, Sonic, and then you get like a handful of like solid ones. And again, like the genre would get better as each year went by, but even in 93, you really did not have a great deal of variety there.
Not really.
That said, yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with most folks when it's like, I mean, it's fighting with Sonic 1 for bottom of the classic list as far as I'm concerned.
I remember seeing a similar ranking that put Sonic CD at number 1. And I remember after I'd played Sonic Unleashed and had just gotten back into Sonic again, I went to backtrack all the old Sonic games. And I started off with Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I played that on an emulator, loved it. And then I was like, okay, but they say that Sonic CD is even better. Okay, I'll play that one next then. And I had this kind of feeling of like, it's fine, but it's not better than Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I wouldn't even say it's better than Sonic 2.
No,
I-
not even close. Sonic 2 is much better game compared to this one.
That's the thing, as I want to note, is I'm gonna have a lot of bad things to say about Sonic CD today. But one thing I cannot say about the game is that I don't respect it. I have infinite amount of respect for this title. I think it's probably one of the most creative games in the franchise, and I think that the ideas and the attempts are admirable. I just don't think it clicked together the way that it should have.
Well, yeah, and again, I think that's why I'm more lenient on it, just because I was there for all this shit and I understood how experimental games were being, even when you had solid games like Mario 3 World.
It still wasn't
Sonic
down to a
2.
science yet, though. Like a lot of the stuff
Yeah,
is a lot
and-
more templated now.
It just feels like, in terms of platforming, it feels like a garage band jam session, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of here for it. It's or like or New Jack, or what was it called? I
New
just
Jack
watched
Swing?
Stash's video. Yeah, it was like New Jack Swing, kind of the whole game. It's really cool. And I just appreciate it because there's always something new to discover, and depending on the soundtrack, I had the more environmental minded American one. It definitely just gave off a weirder, otherworldly vibe, and I just like it. And I think that's a lot of Sonic at the end of the day, where even when there's a lot of stuff going wrong with it, because there are in later games, there's still something about it that just clicks with us. And even back then, the black sheep of the 2D games definitely has a lot of that flavor. And yeah, I still respect it, even if the level design does get a bit weird.
It does.
Sonic
at least.
CD felt like the weird sort of forbidden B-side of Sonic 1. Like, when I played it, my first thought was, "You're not supposed to be here," and
Yeah.
that's kind of that carried through the entire experience, and still does now. It doesn't feel in line with the others. You know, everything about it feels different.
It is very much one of those games that like I know that with my latest plays of the game, the first time actually getting through everything was really frustrating, but then like the more you play it's almost like the game's alien in its design. And then you kind of have to familiarize yourself with it over time, and then eventually it starts to click a little better. But it's nowhere near as welcoming as that first time I sat down and played Sonic 2, or the first time that I sat down and played really most Sonic games. CD feels really divorced from
Even like
that.
Sonic 1, like even though that game gets a bit fucky, like when you sit down to Green Hill
Three
Zone,
Hill.
It
Three Hill
feels-
Zone.
It is
feels like
3
a
Hill. If you think about it.
it feels like a warm hug. Whereas when you're in Palm Tree Panic, I got these kids yelling at me. I got this weird slow going on. It's very bright, very very bright, and I'm like, ooh, that's very very strange. Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, I hate to keep quoting Screwstash. You guys really need to watch this video if you haven't yet. So what he did was he just basically talked about how brilliant the Japanese soundtrack was, and he brought up Palm Tree Panic specifically, and I love the way he described it. Because he described Sonic 1 and 2 like the music was very inviting and welcoming, and Sonic CDs felt like a party. Like it was like a celebration. It was a party. So in that sense, I think I kind of disagree, because it does carry that same tropical vibe of the other two games. I'm not like full on like tropical rainforest like 3, but
That's where
And-
my opinion gets just weird. Is like the thing is, I think most of the music would be fine if they just took out the kids that were having the little yay moment. It's like fucking, it's Palm Tree Panic, not Epstein's Island. Calm the fuck down.
Oh,
Jesus, pup.
Fuck. Fucking
well-
hell.
So yeah, I would just say, like, in terms of and again, this probably doesn't help that we all probably played Sonic 2 first, but we might as well just talk about it level by level at this point. But I'd say Palm Tree Panic is the most Sonic of it all before it kind of just goes off the rails, and
Before it goes
still kind of
nutty.
follows the formula of 1, but does its own thing. But
It's a lot more puzzly, actually.
I don't know. I thought Spring Yard felt more not fucking. What's the one that's the pink one with the springs and shit?
it does
second
very
one leg.
feel like Spring Yard the moment you said that. Yeah.
Collision Chaos. That's it.
Collision
that
Chaos.
feels very Sonic-y, and more so than the first stage, I would say, because it feels like an upgraded Spring Yard.
I mean,
Yeah, no, a lot of that game does. You mentioned it, but yeah, it does. It's still and it probably comes down to that soundtrack too. Did you guys play the American soundtrack at all?
I played
have in the
I
past.
played through with the American soundtrack up until I got to the fight with Metal Sonic, and as soon as I got there, I swapped to the Japanese soundtrack.
So I have a bit of a confession. I played through this game like twice, and the original idea was to play through the second time with the American soundtrack, but I forgot to switch it, and I was already listening to the Japanese soundtrack, and I just kind of rolled with it. But I did go in and listen to the American one, like on YouTube, like later on.
There's
That's just such a huge talking point with this game is this soundtrack, and I know most of the fan base definitely pushes towards the Japanese one, and it is a brilliant soundtrack. But I
Oh,
do
yes.
think there are some spots in the American one that definitely stand out.
the fight.
yeah, that's
the fight
partially
with
due to-
Robotnik.
Yeah,
Well,
the
yeah.
Robotnik fight is like theme of terrorism. Like it's a very spooky track. Like
It's goes beyond that, and it feels like he's not just a mad scientist. He's Freddy Krueger. Like
they
he's
have
gonna
very
invade your
different
nightmares.
attitudes towards Robotnik in America, like at the time.
Oh,
And, like,
yeah.
it shows in that soundtrack.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
like he's a lot more of a goofball in the Japanese iteration of it, whereas in America we were just like, no, we're gonna turn him into Hitler too. That's what he's gonna be.
There we go. Oh my God.
I still think the creepiest I've ever seen Eggman is probably the those atrocities in Sonic Spinball.
I was about to say, yeah, like with that scorpion tail one with the Robotnik head on it.
Jesus.
Yeah, and it
God.
does kind of show you the American side of things in terms of the design there, because yeah, Spinball is very nightmarish in a lot of ways. Like that's a pinball game. That's a fucking pinball game.
I would love a
Why
proper
does it
Sonic game
look
in that
as
art style.
dark and miserable as it does? And then like that does kind of carry over to CD a little bit. And I'm sorry, I don't know if we're gonna do retrospective on Sonic Spinball. I don't want to. I really don't.
Can we just
It
do
was,
the perspective on the options menu alone? Just
Well,
the options
Spinball-
menu.
Spinball was developed by Sega's Technical Institute, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I just love how it spells STI.
And of Of course.
So about that
boy.
fifth member,
You do have Pup does have an infectious sense of humor.
That's so good. But yeah, let's keep on rolling. I should have had some more facts here because Webster did bring something up here. Have you guys ever heard about like the production of the game? Like apparently this was originally supposed to be an enhanced version of Sonic 1.
That makes sense to me. It feels that way.
A lot of
Um,
a lot of the design sensibilities of the game scream 1, whereas like 2 screams a refinement of linearity. So I mean, it makes sense.
like right down to how you access like special stages and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of it that really feels like it was so much closer to the design methods of Sonic 1 than say Sonic 2.
Yeah, that was kind of my my starting off pitch. I don't remember my video super well, but like that was like something I was like this is a point I want to make because I didn't see anybody else talk about it. But like, yeah, my point was Sonic CD feels like a game for Sonic gamers, and at the time, the only game Sonic had was 1. Like,
Yeah.
it is an expansive, bloated Sonic 1 design.
Sonic 1 Ultimate.
Oh, that's so good. But I mean, I would take Ultimate if they would redesign thing. Anyway,
To be fair, there are parts of Colors Ultimate that look kind of like what we got going on right now.
Rival Rush, do you accept?
Mainly just if you navigate a menu a little too fast in the Switch version.
oh god, that's so good.
Oh, we
Um,
should have done that for the Colors episode. It's all been Sonic Fishes. Like the weird Nintendo Switch glitch where Sonic turns into a fish.
no.
Oh, Jeebus.
That
I've
like
been wondering what that was because I've been seeing that on Twitter and I had no idea what that was. And
Xiao
I'm sorry, we're all
drew a picture
yeah.
of it where it's like a refined design of the Sonic fish, and I just
find
love it.
I finally figured out what it reminded me of. It's somewhere between like Nick, you might know what I'm talking about. You know how later on in Klonoa 1, when you get to like you're going up to the dark tower of the sun sanctuary,
Mhm.
and there's like it's constantly going between like the light world and the dark world, and you get those weird like fish monsters.
Yeah,
That's what it reminded me of. It was driving me crazy when I was seeing the glitch go around, and
it does kind of it does kind of have a Klonoa enemy design to it. Now that you mention it,
I need to be
Um,
right back and get a straw because I just spilt my iced coffee down myself.
fantastic.
Wait, you're gonna use the straw to?
Yeah, I'll use the straw because basically the top bit's gone a little bit like it's acting as a wall, so it's like I tip the glass into my mouth.
Oh,
and
see,
have
I
to
thought
tip
you were
it.
gonna be cleaning it all up with the straw.
No,
That was
I
when it
have
got
to.
Weird.
No, I have to tip it. But if I just have the straw, I don't have to worry about the sudden gravity burst anymore. So
Okay.
I'll be right back. I'm just gonna get a straw.
That's fair. Gravity mechanics are weird when coffee's
It's
concerned.
a weird thing when you've got like a wall of foam at the top of your drink. But yeah, so I'll be back.
All right. Well, that aside, let's get back on track here. So, yeah, I mean, there's not really much to say about Palm Tree Panic in terms of what it is as a level is concerned.
There was
it
there's
definitely-
a neat thing that they did there that I like is just a showcase. Whenever you're running up the ramps that like force a change in perspective for a little bit. I always
Mhm.
thought that was like I recognize now that that's them just trying to play around with the sprites to just be like, look at the power of our console, despite that being something perfectly like reasonable to do on the Genesis anyway. But just seeing that, I remember as a kid when I would see like videos of Sonic CD, seeing stuff like that in Palm Tree Panic, it made me go, wow, this game is so different. And it wasn't.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because I remember as a kid, it was like, "Oh, this is a CD. Like, this gonna be a big deal. It's gonna be so different." And it really wasn't. It was that soundtrack that seemed to be really like the prominent difference there. I mean, they did some interesting stuff, but like I had Sonic 2 at that point, and it really didn't seem that different. Granted, I didn't understand like it can hold so much more memory and do so much more on the screen at once, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Definitely had some more colors going on, but as a little kid, I was like, well, this is just more Sonic, and I'm fine with that. But why did they change his jump sound? Why is his jump sound different? I still don't get that to this day. I don't know why they have that weird as opposed to the normal noise. So like a weird showing off thing, like we're on more powerful hardware. Because they did that with Chaotix too.
It's so, to be fair, during that era of game design, a lot of stuff that we would consider iconic to characters had not been mapped out yet and had not
I
been
just
fully
think-
solidified. So
Like to show off how powerful their new software is, like better graphics, crisp visuals, new jump sound effect. Like I can imagine that in that first Sonic Colors teaser where it's like new jump sound.
It really.
I mean, they basically did that with like 3 exclusive remixes. Like, come on now.
Now I'm sad. I mean, yeah, that's the equivalent of like here's a little icon photo for you. Like, where the fuck am I ever going to use this video?
New Rival Rush.
I mean, yeah,
Wait.
that really was kind of the right. They did kind of have a. We'll get to it. Colors is tainting
But
everything today.
will we get to it? I thought we've abandoned colors.
Sonic CD stands for Sonic Colors Dick.
Hey, if the Sonic
Damn
Forces situation is anything to go off of, we can say that we're not going to bring mention to something. We will.
I fucking hate
I
Sonic.
was more talking about the Metal Sonic encounters that we're going to be getting. It was more of what I was mentioning, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, we can,
I don't know.
we can
Remember,
do this.
Metal Sonic encounters were done better in CD.
Yeah, it was the first one, and again, I'll get to it later. Getting off track here. So
Collision
I kinda just
Chaos.
no, let me finish. So all the things that kind of happen here. What I liked about the first level is it is kind of deceptive, where a lot of it did feel like a new Sonic level, but like same old ship, different day. Like, oh, we have a shuttle loop, except it just launches you in the air for some reason.
Yep.
That's cool. There's some mosquitoes, and then there's just mountains, and everything gets messy, and I don't understand what's happening there.
New funky mode.
But then there's these signs that say past or future, and depending on where you go, you get just this, like a little. It looks like instead of summer, it's spring
Yep.
when you go to the past, or becomes a dystopian hellscape, which I think is why I appreciated the American soundtrack as much as I did, because that and the aesthetic of the bad future, when I first saw that, it just completely changed everything in terms of what I expected from a Sonic game. It was like, oh my god.
It colors the perspective of it a lot more. God damn it. What's funny though is that like with the bad future aesthetic, the bad future aesthetic actually makes me think of Sad AM a little bit.
Yeah, and I think they were kind of playing all of that in together. But yeah, it definitely gave me those vibes as well. And yeah, Robotnik's just kind of a dick, isn't he?
He's like it's one of those things where like he even if you take like the Japanese portrayal of him where he's an incompetent goofball whose genius far outstrips his own like personal potential, the idea that like if this guy is just left unchecked for a very short amount of time, suddenly everything goes to shit. That was kind of the first time, like in Sonic CD, despite my gripes with it, the bad future there is like the first time where we get to see, oh, if we don't do anything about it, like literally everything is fucked. Everything's gone.
And that, yeah, I agree with you. I think, and again, I'm coming from the perspective of someone who just played Sonic 1 and 2 up to that point. I think it was like the first time I genuinely saw like the threat of Eggman / Robotnik. Because otherwise you have to wait till like Scrap Brain to see like a factory, and
Mm.
it's just like a shitty
And-
factory. Just a lot of workers comp going on over there, I'm sure.
And even
But,
then, like a scrap brain zone is just it's a singular area. It's not a whole world that's been just corrupted by this guy.
It's okay. So our message to Dr. Robotnik is okay. So you build a factory, big whoop, good job, man. It's not that impressive. All you did is you built some robots, you got a factory, you got your pistons. And
He
yeah,
didn't
very
even
good.
build the factory. Later on, we find out in IDW that Eggman doesn't even build his own shit. He just gets his robots to do it.
Fucking pathetic. So you built robots. Good job, mate. Good fucking job. I could build a robot if I wanted. I have one right here. His name's Wayne.
What?
Anyway,
I mean, boop beep.
Anyway, Nick, you were saying.
yeah, I guess I'll just go with that boss encounter the first time there, because that's how I was first experienced it. Was everything was Grab and Dre and Miserable, and then did I say Dre?
You were saying
Gra-
Gray,
and
Gray
Cray.
and Drab.
Gray
You
and
really
Drab,
Dre.
not Dre
It's all
and
Trey
Grab.
Nobles. It was just miserable.
We
Congrats, by the way, guys, for wrapping up Sonic and Tails R today. If you guys hear
Yeah.
this in the future, if
And
you haven't listened to it, go
congratulations
do it.
to Trey for hitting 1K.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for surviving for his birthday.
Oh yeah.
Hmm?
Trey
But-
Trey's a special boy today.
Not today.
Trey.
It was.
Oh, well, no, it's because I said so. Shut up, sirs.
I mean, he's a special boy every day.
Hey,
Yeah.
you're biased. He's your husband.
Yeah, well, that's only because I can see what you can't see. It's still there. It's special.
You know what I didn't know was in Palm Tree Panic until years and years later?
What?
Was it palm trees?
One of the two characters they introduced in this game, Amy Rose. I had no idea she was in that game for years, which goes to show like how I had played that game prior to actually owning it myself.
Just steering it back on topic.
I
Good job.
didn't realize that until my second playthrough of this game. And then I saw her at the end there. I was just like, oh shit, did I miss this the first time?
Yeah, it's I don't know if like they like in Sonic Media they did more with her in Japan, but I never thought anything about her as a kid. It's just like it's such a nothing character. She was just there.
I just saw it and I was like, ah, Sonic's dressed in drag.
From what I understand, there was actually a lot more done with her in like there was more focus on her in Japanese like media and promotion.
Yeah, she's on like
Um,
the covers and stuff, isn't she? Like,
Yeah, like she is more important or was at the time more important over there. I don't know if there's a particular reason, if that's just like a cultural thing. We're just like we're focused on like this is the boys' game, so we're doing the thing, and then over there that's not as much of an issue. I'm
great,
not
Sonic goes woke. They ruined it.
Well, I mean, I think the manual, and Lyman Webster is pointing this out, like we were going to mention, like the American manual did call her Sally, which
Yeah,
shows
it
you
did.
just, I mean, first off, how
She doesn't even look.
fucking, yeah, how fucking messy everything was between all the aspects of Sega back then,
If she is, a
and
girl,
also
she is
like
Sally.
how important Sally was to the Western side of marketing, because she really was everywhere,
Yeah.
anywhere that the Americans could get their hands on. Because Sonic Team wanted nothing to do with whatever we were cooking up with over here.
Furry booty.
Yeah, I think that the fact that they kind of mixed that up was kind of nuts.
Ugh.
It
Right, okay,
hurts.
where's the railroad tracks at?
Oh god.
That was very wrong, Wayne. We're not friends anymore.
Oh no.
So, I also wanted to point out too, because this is the first time I like discovered the generators. Did you guys just go into this game knowing what this was? And
No, why
It was
would
supposed to be-
you? Why
I-
would you? If
um,
you just picked up the game, you wouldn't know to do that. Like,
I mean,
I did because I watch your content.
fair enough.
I've watched a bunch. I had already watched a bunch of reviews on the game like well before I even played it the first time when I was a kid.
The thing is,
Mhm.
like,
So-
imagine being the first person to discover that, though, at a time before there was the internet, at a time when we all lived in stone homes in the wild, wild west. Think about it. Like, you plug in Sonic CD, at no point do you know to go check the generators.
Well, so here's the thing, Pup. So the way games were done back then as opposed to right now is, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that teaches you how to play the game, but instruction manuals and the back of the box and all this other stuff kind of gives you, I mean, that was a selling point of the game, was we have time travel. That's pretty cool. And even that, I would say that you're gonna probably run into a future sign at some point. Like there's a lot in there letting you know, like, something's clearly wrong here and you need to go fix
just
it.
run past the future sign for the first time. You're just like, oh no. Oh no. I have to prevent this. I guess
Yeah,
you experience the adventure with him in that case. Like, it's all a big discovery. Like,
Yeah.
It's your
But-
games, Sonic. Something's got to be done about your games.
What? Oh my god, no, that's the best reference.
Well, Eggman, when I hit 88 miles per hour, you're going to experience some serious shit.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
so one thing to talk about, I guess, Sonic CD here is obviously there's two ways to play. There's the time travel gimmick, but if you don't want to do that, you can just play it as a Sonic game with some very dark visuals. And it has to be said, a lot of work must have went into making, like, is it 3 different layers to each level? 3 different coats of paint in a way?
4.
Like 4.
Oh, yeah, no,
you've
there's
got
good
the past,
future.
the
There's
good
good
future,
future.
the bad future, and the present. Yeah, you got 4. So those pixel art designers must have been working overtime for this. But like, I think I kind of like just playing it with the visual aesthetic of the bad future, because just like it kind of just makes this into a grueling adventure for Sonic. But not only that, does the ending even actually change if you get the
Yeah.
good future?
Yeah.
It does a little bit, yeah, because you actually do see like an image of the Death Egg just kind of warping itself back into existence because you didn't prevent that future from happening at the
But-
end, and it basically
but
says
you can
try
Is
get-
that
again.
the Death Egg?
I thought that was the little planet.
It's Little
It's a Little
Planet.
Planet.
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry, that's what I meant.
There's
It's
a
the fucking,
but-
it's the
Yeah,
proto,
yeah.
it's the proto Death Egg.
you can get that so you can get that ending without doing time travel still, though, because there are special stages in this game. And if you
so
get
you can really just play it like a conventional Sonic
You-
game if you want.
you can if you get all the if you get all the emeralds in the special stages, you can get the good ending that way as well. Like, that's an option that you have.
The thing is, if you do play it as just a regular Sonic game, and that's my preferred way of playing it, to be honest, but if you do just play it as a regular Sonic game, you're getting a pretty mid Sonic game, even for the time it came out. It was just very blech. Like compared to like Sonic 2 and stuff, because the stages are, I want to say, almost designed with the time travel in mind, but they're really not at the same time. Like,
They're
as
they're designed for exploration, but they're not designed to facilitate actually traveling through time. Like, there's so many stop gaps in the stages when you're trying. Like, there's little areas in the levels where there'll be like two springs next to each other that'll bounce you back and forth infinitely, that can get you to past or future, but outside of like little areas where they're meant to facilitate just kind of gimmicking your way into the speed required, the level design is so explorative and stopgap. The levels, especially for a first-time player, do not facilitate gathering and keeping the speed and momentum to do the time travel.
And that's kind of where it becomes like a lose-lose situation in a way, because it doesn't properly facilitate the main mechanic, but also if you just play them as Sonic stages, they're like blink and you'll miss it over. Like,
well, and like
Well, so are a lot of, to be fair to this game, so are like Sonic 1 and 2, and even to a degree somewhat Sonic 3, if you know what you're doing with those and you're just trying to blast
but
through.
they're more substantial than this, I would say.
I
Well,
do
it's-
agree, but yeah.
So they're not as substantial in Sonic CD if you're just going from point A to point B. But the thing with Sonic CD is a little bit of design. If you look at a map of a Sonic CD level compared to a Sonic 2 or even a Sonic 1 level, Sonic CD levels are a lot taller. They're ridiculously tall in comparison to Sonic 1, Sonic 2 type levels. And that's because they took, instead of stretching the levels linearly, horizontally. They stretched them vertically because, again, these were levels that were meant to be explored for the purpose of the time mechanic. When you are going from point A to point B, you're going on one of the 5 to 6 paths, and that's it. But having a level designed so you can go up and down, when you're dealing with 2D game design, that makes a lot more sense. And if you're a Metroid player, you know exactly what I'm saying. Going up and down in a level facilitates backtracking way easier.
Up and down.
All right. Anyway,
But that's the thing, though, with I'll let you continue. Sorry, sirs.
but with because the levels are stacked that way, this isn't quite a Metroidvania. It's nowhere near as complex, obviously. But because the levels are layered up and down, when you get into the past, it's easier. Even as somebody who really didn't go after all the generators on my playthroughs because I just don't like that kind of gameplay, the levels are built in a way to let you do it. If you had the levels with that same mission-y based structure, but they were still like full-on linear, you'd get a problem with like what you had with Team Chaotix and Sonic Heroes or the Shadow the Hedgehog missions, where you're having to constantly zip your way back to the beginning of the level and run through it over and over again, desperately looking for 15 MacGuffins. The levels being structured vertically instead of horizontally prevents that, kind of.
It does. If you try to put this into Sonic 2, this would not work at all. And unfortunately, we didn't have the likes of Tails or Knuckles back then either. So you do have to work with just what Sonic has. And yeah, again, like you can tell, this is still very experimental. They hadn't quite mastered what they wanted to do with the Hedgehog, or realized, maybe hand it off to a character that has a little more in their arsenal for, in terms of exploration. And yeah, I mean, I always thought it, and like this was kind of my game apology part of it in the video, was I think that was part of the challenge, was you have to not only look for the generators, but you need to look for a spot that can best utilize your speed and get you through time. Which is, and I remember Wayne, you saying this last week. I did think it was funny how, because I definitely had this frustration as a kid too. It's amazing like how hard it is to keep a hold of a past sign, but how incredibly easy it is to just slip into the future somehow.
And
I
I
hate
think
it.
that was the one thing for me playing through this was why I feel like I'm missing a part of the game here, because it's like, why do the future posts even exist if you're in the present?
It's to
They
show you
benefit
what
you
you'll
in no
lose.
way whatsoever.
It's more to
There's a
show,
challenge,
like,
man.
They
I
also
guess.
they also might not benefit you mechanically, but they're not there to benefit you mechanically. They're there to benefit you narratively. We just like the
Well-
whole bit earlier where we were all like, this is what it feels like to know what the end result of an unchecked Robotnik is.
So I have an issue with that, and that's that you get that anyway if you get to the boss level of that act, and you
Right.
have not or I'm sorry, of that zone or whatever the fuck they call it in this game.
Well, imagine you're playing it for the
And you
first
haven't
time.
gone through. Yeah, and that's why I feel like it would be all the more jarring if you hadn't seen the future up to that point, and then you get to that boss level and just everything's gone to shit. You're like,
But
oh
think of
god,
it-
what's this?
Think of it this way: you go through a future sign, not knowing what it does. You see everything's gone to shit, and you're like, "Oh, that's even more jarring.
Not to
I
mention,
better go back and fix this." And
N-
that's kind of what those future signposts serve. I
not
guess.
not to
I feel like-
mention. Oh, sorry, Wayne.
I was gonna say, I feel like it hits more if it's in a boss level, because it's like, not only do you now have this level that you've played through a couple of times already is now in this futuristic dystopian thing, and you're like, oh god, what happened here? And now you have to fight a version of Eggman. If you hadn't seen it up to that point, I feel like it just would have stuck better. And then that really, mix that with the encounter with Eggman, and you're just like, you get an instant idea of the gravitas of going back and fixing those things with the way that they work now. I think narratively they just become irritating as well as mechanically. And even if it is a challenge, just getting to the past can be an annoying challenge in and of itself anyway. So it's needless.
So it's not that I disagree with what you're saying. I agree that like there's a gravitas to having it like when you encounter Eggman, that's when you encounter the future. Almost like with the Sonic OVA when they go into the other world and suddenly there's the giant like Robotnik robot. But I think the one point of contention I have there, or there's 2 points of contention. One is mechanical and one is narrative. Narratively speaking, there's not a whole lot in the game to communicate that you're in the future when you get to Act 3. If they added a random future goalpost and then you had to go into the future to find the boss, then I would agree with your point. But as the game as it stands doesn't do something like that, then it feels like you're just going into a place almost like when Act 2 of your first level in Sonic 3 happens and like everything's on fire now. You could just be like, oh, Eggman fucked this place up. You don't know that you're in a future because that's not clearly
Well,
communicated by the game at that point.
even still, if the past posts are still there and maybe a little more prevalent, wouldn't not stand to reason that even if it doesn't immediately read future to you, it at least reads to something as a stoppable outcome. If you have past posts and then you see what it looks like at the end of the level, if you haven't gone through all of those, then you get you kind of put 2 and 2 together, and you're like, oh, I need to go back and I need to go into the past to fix something. I don't know. I feel like there would have been an easier way to communicate that.
Well, I have
I
a
think-
second. Hold on one sec, Pop.
Sure.
The second part of this was mechanical. So mechanically though, there is actually a benefit to having those future posts there, and it's not just a challenge to cuck the player. If you're in Act 1 of a level and you get your generators and that's all done, you've created the good future. When you go into the future, like enemies are no longer present there. The level is made easier to for you by your efforts in the previous level or by your efforts in the previous past. So while they might not serve a mechanical purpose to you when you have not destroyed the generators, when you have destroyed the generators, they do now serve a mechanical purpose. Now, you and I probably both agree they're not executed well. Like they exist and they do a thing, but the execution is what matters. And I do not think the execution was great where the generators or the past or the future is concerned. But I can see what they were going for, and with the game being as early of a game as it was, I can see them not necessarily understanding how to make that work as best they could.
Yeah.
Like we got to keep this in mind. This is a very experimental video game, and this whole mechanic was slapped on top of something they had just started figuring out in Sonic 1. So adding this whole other element was still like a crazy idea. And again, like in early 90s, that worked for me because again, that was that fun garage band strange feeling. And I love exploring. I love exploring game worlds, and that it worked for me. I spent so much time wanting to see all the different versions, trying to track down generators. So like it vibed with me a lot better, but I also understand it's a rough go. Sorry, Pup, go
I
ahead.
think would make a better overall framing device for this concept would be if the game starts you off in the bad future, and the bad future is the default, and you only have like past signs which take you to the past so you can prevent that bad future. So then that way when you come back to the present, it's then looking nicer. So the present is the future instead, and you cut out the middleman. I think that would be a better framing device, and it would
It would make it less clunky, I guess.
it would do the whole Sonic Forces thing as well, where it's like Dr. Robotnik's taken over the world and you have to take it back using time travel.
I do have a question. Timeline wise, how does this game and its development line up with the release of the Back to the Future films?
Oh, we definitely know that we definitely know if Back to the
Okay.
Future inspired them. Like
Yeah.
there's no two ways
Yeah,
around it.
well, I'm thinking about like which ones. Was it Back to the Future 1? Was it Back to the Future 1 and 2? Because I definitely get a feeling of part 2 in there with like you go back to Hill Valley and it's a shithole.
Yeah,
versus-
this
more
is
like
93,
Green Hill
so-
Valley.
So this game definitely would have been coming out after the trilogy, because I think the trilogy was already plenty out by the time I was cognizant. So
Gotcha.
back to I'll look
So
it
I
up.
guess one thing I guess I could say to kind of summarize the kind of level and overall structure of Sonic CD would be that I think it falls into a similar problem to Sonic 1, where the level design actively works against the main mechanic being the time travel. Like, it's very hard to get to the past with these things, and like yeah, it's working against the main mechanic. But I will say this: the base level design works quite a lot better with Sonic's overall moveset than it did in Sonic 1. I definitely don't have. I've never run into a situation that feels like Marble Zone or Labyrinth Zone in Sonic CD. Everything feels a bit better to play through. It's the time travel mechanic where I think that the level design really flies up in the face of the actual mechanic there.
Yeah. I think for me, it's been said by other people, so I'm not really saying anything different than what's already been said, but it feels like there's a set of lessons learned from Sonic 1, and half of those lessons went into Sonic CD, and the other half of the lessons went into Sonic 2. How to make a this is in quotation marks, properly explorative level is something that Sonic 1 experimented with a lot, and sometimes they got puzzle platforming stuff that worked out really well, sometimes it didn't. It works out better in CD overall when it happens, but there's also a lot more of it. There's a lot more gunk to sit through. Whereas how to make a linear level design like what we get in Green Hill, that's extrapolated on better in games like Sonic 2, where they just take it kind of like how the design process went for early Mario and Zelda, where like the exploration bits went into one bucket and the linear level design went into another bucket, and so we got two games.
Yep.
Kind of the same thing here.
Shall we go through zone by zone and talk a little bit about each zone? And we can talk about both the aesthetic, the music, the level design, as kind of a way of just kind of keeping this quite well paced.
Yeah, and then I kind of figured like the more we talk about the time travel stuff, like this is going to be like its own section as opposed to the levels, because it really is. It is what makes it stand out from the other games. It's this time travel thing, and I do have to respect though, like as much as we vent about it one way or the other, you don't need to do it. Even if you wanted like you said, Pup, even if you wanted like a good ending, you also have special stages, which we'll get into in a bit.
Yeah,
but
with it or you don't. Like that's
and
the
yeah,
thing.
and there's a lot of ways to play it. Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot you can do. Like you don't even need to bother with that. Like as a kid, I can tell you, I did not bother with special stages half the time because they were frustrating. And I'm not here for it. I'm not about it.
I really appreciate the versatility when it comes to any Sonic game. Having the freedom to explore a Sonic game at my own leisure, basically. Like and I think that's kind of something that Sonic CD started off on. And I think while the execution of its main gimmick isn't brilliant, I think it's nice that it at least makes it optional.
Yeah. And I mean, really, there's an achievement in the Whitehead re-release. You can beat this game under 25 minutes. Like it does not have to be tedious with a little bit of work. That's any Sonic game. But yeah, like you do have to trudge through some goofy, unpolished ideas to get to the core of what makes it enjoyable one way or the other. But yeah, I'd say let's just keep going on and just kind of talk about the zones a little bit here, because Collision Chaos is next, and I think that's such a great name, considering if you don't know what you're not aware of it, you could just run right into spikes and die immediately.
Oh, okay. I thought we were gonna start right off on Palm Tree.
We've been in Palm Tree for a minute too.
Oh, we've already talked about Palm Tree.
I didn't know if they had anything more to say about Palm Tree Panic.
No, we did Palm Tree Panic, then we got into the time travel stuff, and now we're back here. It's structured light, TM.
Good structure. Okay. All right.
Just like Sonic CD.
Collision Chaos, then, yeah, otherwise known as Smack in the Face with Spike Zone if you're not careful. What do we think of this one?
It's hard for me to divorce the American soundtrack from this one, man. Like it just really felt miserable and dour and depressing right up until I finally heard the Japanese one, man. Like
was this the level where it starts with Amy and then you immediately collide with the spike at the beginning?
Yes.
For no good reason.
Metal Sonic.
Okay, yeah, no, Amy. Fuck this entire level.
I mean, I think It might just be the music. The music in the Japanese version of this absolutely slaps. It's the best track in the game, I think, as far as level themes go. And that's the Japanese soundtrack I'm talking about. I don't have any recollection of the American one, even though I've played it the whole way through with the American one as well. I think it's very springy. It's like Spring Yard on LSD. And I think in terms of its overall level design, it's a little better than Spring Yard in many ways, because I think it better utilizes its ping pong kind of style to it. It's got more of that sense of confidence that, came in later Sonic games. And yeah, no, I think this is a solid second level. It might just be the music speaking to me, but I think this one's fine.
I'm gonna politely disagree with you. Like, this is like my first instance when I was playing the game where I was like, there is too much Sonic 1 happening here. I really I appreciate that we didn't have as many. Now I'm thinking about Spring Yard. I did not like Spring Yard that much. I'm thinking
There's
about
no
it.
moving
Okay.
blocks in this one that you have to
Spring-
wait for at least.
Spring Yard is bad casino night. We all know that.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, like, you go lower path and stuff like that, you have a lot of these glass balls to break through, and it just felt really excessive. But I don't hate it either way. I don't know, man. It just felt like it really got in my fucking way half the time.
I think the main thing is the boss fight, which will either take you 10 seconds or 58 minutes. There's no in between.
Yeah, and that I appreciate what they're doing with the boss fights here. We're not the first people to mention it, but it's more about figuring out how to attack him as opposed to actually just attacking him.
We didn't mention how pathetic the Palm Tree Panic boss fight is.
He was so creepy with that music, the American music, but yeah, he's fucking pathetic.
His
Wait,
Japanese music sounds like a workout mix.
if we're talking about Collision Chaos, I just thought about something. Nick, this is where your short comes in.
Yeah, I was gonna wait to talk about that, but it's a whole thing because I have a thing for us to read as well. It's fascinating, but we might as well just talk about it now. So as I keep mentioning, Screwstash just made a video about some of the tracks from the Japanese soundtrack, and he also said, yeah, what Pup just said, like, Collision Chaos is probably considered one of the best tracks of the game, and then he just like played along with it on the guitar or bass, whatever it is, a string instrument, and something clicked in my brain. I have heard this before. So, made a quick short on YouTube, and yeah, Sirs, did you want to just play that real quick?
Just play your short.
Or that, or if you have anything set up, because I know we can't hear it on our end, it's just for the audience.
So here's what I will do. I will actually look up Game Apologist on YouTube,
Okay.
and we will just go ahead and grab that short directly from there.
Game Apologist. I'm not sure I'm familiar with that creator.
I'm not either, but
I'm
you know,
not either.
He's an okay guy.
He's very problematic.
Oh, is he
Casually
that one
racist,
guy?
I heard one time
yeah,
on Sunset City.
I
Oh,
heard
yeah,
about
he
that.
said,
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, he said something very sussy.
man, that was fucked.
So I can't actually pull up your video because the even when I pull it up, the audio is so low on it that it just doesn't even register on Streamlabs. Unfortunately,
Pup, have you heard what I'm talking about? What
I
shared
actually
in-
haven't. I've been sleeping for most of the day.
All right,
but
so everybody here, we'll pause for just a second. Everybody here who is listening, I'm going to play these two tracks back to back, and everybody in chat, let me know what you think. And Pup, if you want a chance to listen to these right now, then I'm going to drop them in here
So-
for you.
Remember, sirs, like, there's for that
copyright.
second track, you need to wait like a
I
little
know,
bit.
I
We
gotta-
probably shouldn't play that first part.
I gotta push forward on it to make sure that I'm at the right section. I know.
I'm just
Okay.
scrolling down my YouTube newsfeed, and there's like a CGI demonstration of how a hand transplant works, and that looks kind of satisfying.
So everybody who's listening, and of course, that is Collision Chaos's Japanese soundtrack. But this is the discovery that Nick made. Listen to this. Just, this is where I'm just going to wait for everybody in the chat to catch up there.
Yeah,
But it's yeah, no, when Nick showed this to me, my thought was, oh god, they're
Yeah.
the exact same.
Like, and let's be fair. Like, this is probably, I would assume it's a coincidence. Like,
In musical theory, that's gonna happen. Yeah.
It's going to happen, and also like this is all based off of New Jack Swing, so it's going to have a similar kind of rhythm to everything going on here.
It's the same
But
thing. That
I just had
happens-
fun. My brain had a fun time making that connection there.
It's
That
the,
said, though,
it's the same thing that happened with if anybody here's a fan of Chrono Trigger, Robo's theme and Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up are the same theme.
There's also a lot of like I think Labyrinth Zone from Sonic 1 is very similar to Best of My Love by The Emotions, I think.
and also like if you look in the comments of the short, people were also making other comparisons there to different Sonic tracks or different bits of music. It was fascinating. Like that's how music's gonna work. There's only so many ways you can play around with this stuff. I thought it was cool.
The
Plus,
second
given
song
Sonic's
for
plus,
those that are
given
asking,
Sonic's early history, are we really going to complain about things getting ripped off of it?
for those that are asking, the second song is Red Hot Chili Peppers' "Tell Me Baby."
Yes, that's the one there. But let me. I wanted to actually tell you guys this story here because I was in tears. I sent this over to a friend of mine yesterday who is he's a talented musician. I was like, dude, before I post this short, I just want to be sure like my ears aren't tricking me here, are they? And he
No.
listened and he said, no, man, don't worry about it. And like I find the chat here because I need to just read this verbatim. So all right, says, yeah, I hear the resemblance. Of which I responded, okay, just needed to be sure. And he responded, there's a few differences in the melody, but not an Ice Ice Baby situation. Which I said, well, I'm not looking to start like a lawsuit. I just thought it was a goofy little thing I could put on YouTube and might be fun for fans.
Oh man!
And he responded, well, who published it first? I'd like to see Sonic sue Anthony Kiedis and/or Flea in a copyright infringement case. Weirder shit has happened. To which I said, oh, it has. And I mentioned, like, yeah, Michael Jackson was a whole thing in Sonic, but for whatever it's worth, Sonic was first. And I said, but again, just a fun little thing. And he responded, no. Realistic, pre-public outcry, hairy, teethy, human-eyed Sonic in a suit, seated behind the plaintiff table, in a court. Across from him sits Anthony Kiedis, wearing only a sock, tattoos, and shame from years of debauchery and hedonistic satanism. Sonic's lawyer, who for some reason is Colonel Sanders, begins his cross-examination. Now, Mr. Kiedis, you are a musician, but you certainly have some other hobbies outside of scatting and bringing up California whenever possible. Say, by chance, do you ever fancy video games? Kiedis takes the microphone from the stand and rises. I plead the 5, 6, 7, 8! Flea and Matt immediately begin beatboxing and drumming in the table. Nothing to say now, continues Kiedis. Skippity Bebop, Johnny Crack Corn, yeah. Growing up in the heart of California. Orderlies restrain Kiedis and inject him with a syringe to his neck. As he recedes to the floor, the beatbox bass and defendant table drums fade as well. He composes himself. No, I don't have a television. The judge interjects sharply. Case dismissed. Realistic, creepy Sonic jumps on his feet in outrage, hitting his knee on the table leg and spilling rings everywhere. This is outrageous, he says, as slow as he possibly can, so it's audible to human ears and not the pitch of a dog whistle. Outrageous? You've only begun to conceive your doom, the judge says as he rips off his robes. His bench around him starts to contort and reshape itself into a giant octopus-like mech with the judge at the center.
Fuck?
The judge laughs maniacally as he sees the realization wash over Creepy Sonic's creepy face. We'll see you in fucking post-punk. You see you fucking punk hacks in the Fifth Circuit Appellate Court. I'm sorry, I fucked up at the end there. But like he just responded with this entire narrative Like
Why
as
is he
soon
not
as I did
here?
it.
Why is he
this,
not here?
Why is
He's-
this not a whole
I've asked
fucking
him-
canon?
I've asked him like he's got a band. Like I asked him to like do more of it, and he was like, like I asked if I could read it because he was going to do a dramatic reading. He was like, I need it by tomorrow morning, dude. Like I was just up doing research, and he was like, well, can't get it done by then, but you can tell them it was written by the Ding Danger. And I was like, the what? He's like, it's my game handle. Like, what the ding dang is going on? But a person who distributes ding dangs or dangs dings. It's a mysterious title in that regard. A ding danger. But to avoid people pronouncing it like Danger Zone, I removed the E. The ding danger.
Right.
He
So
said-
okay.
So no. Last
Go
little
on,
bit.
go on.
Last
Go on.
little bit. So you can tell your audience that you consulted the Ding Danger about these songs to get my expert musical opinion, and I happen to be in the middle of writing a dramatization of this very scenario. I agreed to consult you if you would read an excerpt from this screenplay titled "Faster Than the Speed of Law." This all, I love this man. This was like instantaneous. There was no time between this. Like I sent him the thing, and then like 2 minutes later, I come back and there's this entire page of this crazy fucking story. So hopefully we'll get him to do a dramatic reading and a little bit of production quality in there. But I thought I would share that all with you today. I've had so much fun comparing two fucking songs this
Well, you
last
should-
24 hours.
You should
gotta
do
get an
like little
animatic of
drawings
this.
to go along with it. Like,
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Like, make an animatic. This will be great.
So when we talked about Palm Tree Panic, we went into a seminar on the laws of time travel in the Sonic universe. When
Mhm.
we talked about Collision Chaos, we mapped out the courtroom proceedings of Sonic and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So what will happen for Tidal Tempest Zone? Anyone got any drowning stories or anything? they
Find
wanna
out
go
next
through?
time on Dragon Ball Z.
Oh,
I was
that
gonna
the end
make
of the
jokes
episode?
about
Okay,
drowning
then.
creepypastas, but this game does have creepypastas, doesn't it?
It does. We
it
literally
does.
are. We literally are a creepypasta right now.
We are.
So
we have
this-
become the creepypasta.
This level reminds me of the time I took a bath.
Wait,
What?
the one time.
Playing through this level really epitomizes where I think Sonic CD's level design improves upon Sonic 1's, because if you play through Tidal Tempest as if it's just a normal Sonic level, you're going to get a lot more of a smooth ride out of this stage than you do Labyrinth Zone.
I do have to state right now that that this level does have like the Japanese version has like one of my favorite Sonic tracks of all time.
Yeah, the music's good in this one
Oh,
as
it's
well.
so good.
I am
I-
having a hard time remembering what the Title Tempest theme is now.
Oh my
I
god!
was gonna say I don't remember the Japanese one. I can remember
Oh.
the American one, no problem.
Dude, the Japanese theme is such a vibe. Oh my god!
Oh, it's
wait,
great.
I think I know which one you're talking. Hold on, I'm gonna do that thing where I just grab it real quick. But Title Tempest, Japanese, and I guess this is for me and Nick both. Okay. That?
Oh god,
Oh,
that is
Sir,
some
you gotta
noise.
stop. I can't hear a fucking thing that's doing.
Fair
Ladies
enough.
and gentlemen, audio design.
Well, I mean, it's either that and Nick can't hear it. But
No,
yeah,
you
it didn't
you
work.
completely buggered it up.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
fair.
completely different song what you were playing down the mic there.
The worst thing in the world.
I don't have
Alright,
much
well-
to say about this level. I mean, it is a better Labyrinth Zone, but at the end of the day, it's just more Labyrinth Zone to me. So
The
I
boss
really don't have
fight-
a lot to.
The boss
It-
fight is really, really good in this one.
I think the thing I like about the boss fight is that you can cheese the hell out of it really fast if you're quick enough to the point
it-
where you only have to hit Eggman once.
Yeah.
This is the
actual
one where
fight
you've got
starts.
you've got the chase before the fight, right?
Oh, it's so cool. Like honestly, the boss fights in Sonic CD are some of the best with Eggman. Like they are, I think just conceptually, like it feels like these huge confrontations. They feel like little cinematic set pieces anytime that you encounter him.
I'll make
Yeah.
I'll make a quick disagreement for Collision Chaos. I hated the Collision Chaos fight.
Yeah,
there's a lot of the boss fights in this game. I really agree with you, Wayne. I think I love them conceptually. This I think this is why Sonic 4 Episode 2 let me down as bad as it did. And I expected it to after Episode 1. But I really, as much as 3K kind of refines a lot of these ideas from all of the games prior to its release, this was a concept, like all these concepts were ones I would like to see refined a little bit further, because I think this would have worked brilliantly in a sequel if they ever revisited some of these ideas. And yeah, I really liked the setup for the bosses, where Act 3, it's I like this better than Sonic 2. I like this way better than Sonic 2's. I know it's more streamlined to just have the boss at the end there, but I really like that
having
Act
a level
3 was like,
designed around bosses is fine.
yeah, and it's just a quick little thing that gets you straight to the boss. That's part of the challenge itself. And yeah, again, it shows you like your scorecard as far as like how you did with the generators. And it is this big thematic creepy thing, and they get really inventive with it. I thought Collision Chaos having a pinball as a boss room was brilliant, and probably should have been implemented better if like we had this perfect world where Casino Night was the perfect Sonic. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, if you merge all these ideas together, I would take that boss fight and place it into Casino Night as opposed to
100%.
Yeah,
Like,
but-
as well as that, like, of all the Sonic games that do the 3-act structure, Sonic CD does it by far the best, and it's by far the most justified.
I agree completely. It is sloppy though. At the end of the day, it is. Collision Chaos specifically was a very sloppy boss fight. I was super frustrated. I still get super frustrated with that fight, and other times I'm done in like 5 seconds. So it's, yeah. I mean, that's the double-edged sword of Sonic games. We try something really weird and new, but we don't always clean it up the best we can. But yeah, I mean, back to a pup's bath. I do think it's a really good boss fight at the end there.
I like water. All right. Has everyone said everything they want to say on Tidal Tempest?
I'm afraid there's not a whole lot to say
Well,
about Tidal Tempest, to be honest.
If you're saying that about Tidal Tempest, get ready for Quartz Quadrant, the most notable level in Sonic history.
I keep forgetting that level exists. I legitimately do.
It's got some conveyor belts, and that's about it.
Yeah. That, and it is like the quickest one too. Like, there's a lot of just wide rooms. And
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean,
It's like a
it's interesting in
mining
that
level.
sense.
It's like a
Yeah.
mining level. So, as someone who is a connoisseur of Minecraft, it's
I
kind
swear
of
to God.
I'm not a connoisseur of Minecraft. I'm terrible at it. But yeah. So if you're into mining, that's the level for you. Anyone else got anything to say on this one?
Well, Cirrus is using the restroom, so he might have more to say. Maybe
you guys-
Boss fight is
told you.
creative, just not particularly fun.
I
Oh,
don't
is it the one
remember
where
it.
you have to... I know the one. Is it where
It's
he's
the
in like the
treadmill
piston?
one.
He's in the piston, and you have to
Oh,
get him on the treadmill
yeah.
and wear him
Yeah,
down.
I think it's memorable. It's just not like I don't enjoy it.
It's
Okay,
not
so
fun to
let's-
play.
Let's just make
Yeah.
an agreement here, though. The boss fights in this game are a big upgrade from the original Sonic 1 and perhaps 2. even.
Oh, hands down. Like, yeah, no.
Huge improvement from one. Absolutely.
For creativity alone, yeah.
I mean, we also got like one of the most iconic boss fights in the series, a few levels away. But we'll
Right.
get to that when we get to that.
Right. And I don't know. Are we waiting for Cirrus? Like,
We're waiting for
Dude, just-
Cirrus to finish shitting, and as I said, guys, in the chat,
he might be gone for the rest of the video.
no, but like I
Something like
said to the
that.
guys in the chat, who's still shitting, and as usual, Nick, you and I get the most votes, probably because we're maybe like two of the more known channels in the Sonic community compared to the other.
Did we really?
Yeah, but I don't shit like in
I'm-
these
They're not a part of the build-up process.
On
You
Twitter-
just don't
on-
wake your ass up before a
Stop-
show.
On
Cirrus
Twitter,
Yeah,
on
I'm
for, like,
Twitter,
5
Cirrus
years.
I'm
Cirrus
just-
literally like recruited you to go shit on somebody's lawn on Twitter. earlier
yeah,
this
but
week.
Cirrus literally is do a poo cam in his live streams, and can we also just point out, I'm the CEO of napping. Cirrus is the CEO of shitting. Like, come on, guys, do your research on this. Don't be so shy around Cirrus. I know his chest is really intimidating to some of you, but you just got to work with it. You just got to keep your eyes in line.
I'm interested
Fuckers.
in seeing what we're seeing with the chat here, though. Rhino said Quartz Quadrant is actually one of my favorite CD stages, mostly because it feels like it can move forward without random interruption every 3 seconds. And that is kind of a good point there. Like, it is one of the fastest levels in the game. Like, you just zip on through without any kind of issue there.
I love
I would
how we're just
say,
killing time
yeah,
at this point. It's
that and Stardust Speedway are probably the two that actually just let you have momentum.
So,
Yeah.
guys, how is the weather where you guys are at? Yeah,
Oh, it's
that
beautiful this
applies to
morning.
applies to you in the chat
Ashy.
as well.
It's very ashy.
We're
Well, let
getting-
Cirrus come back to this if he has anything to say about this. Let's keep moving on. We can't wait
Okay,
for him
so
to poop
the
forever.
next stage makes Quartz Quadrant look like a fucking masterpiece in comparison, as far as I'm concerned. Wacky Workbench. I fucking hate Wacky Workbench.
You're not alone in that. I think that's the most notorious level in this game for a lot of people. When I was
You
a
do
kid,
not-
I thought it was really fun at first
Yeah,
because you get to play with that mechanic of like, oh wow, look how high he jumps, and the music's so again like the American soundtrack is so energetic and fun, and what a cool idea. And then you play a little bit more of it, and no, these new
There
mechanics, like so much else of this game, is there to punish you.
there is no running in this stage pretty much. Like, it's pretty much all
No.
bouncy. And like, what I do like about it is that you can use that to cheese massive parts of the level. But it makes you wonder, why are those platforms even there if you're just gonna bounce over them, you know? But like, also this stage, as far as like doing the time travel stuff, this stage is not built to explore. This is a horrible, horrible stage.
Isn't one of like it's this one too where, and again, I know you guys didn't go for the generators, but I'm pretty sure it's Wacky Workbench. I think Act
Oh, I
2.
I tried to go for the generators, but every time I tried to meet this game on its own merits and tried to take advantage of the things that it was doing uniquely, I ended up disliking it more.
I
That's
agree
fair.
with you there. There's so much that flies in the face of the concept it's trying to achieve, much like the original Sonic one. And it's no surprise that this was in development prior to Sonic 2, because I feel like that was the game where they finally refined it, like got it right.
Yeah,
and
because
everything.
they focused on Sonic's mechanics. They didn't focus on adding more and more and more and more, and then adding a brand new wacky time travel mechanic on top of things. But I think this is the one where the robot generator is like actively hidden. Like you need to put yourself in danger. Like one of the things that will flatten you, one of those things. You actually need to get crushed by them. It'll send you down a pipe into where the generator actually is. And I don't know how anybody figured that out without looking it up, because I sure as shit didn't.
I think one thing that saved a little face was in Sonic Mania they incorporated some Wacky Workbench into Chemical Plant and they made it work.
Yeah, I mean that's again the SAF, and Mania did what it was supposed to do, which was like, well, let's take all these mechanics and let's see if we can merge them together and make this a much more enjoyable experience. Like, I genuinely would love a Sonic Mania that was just Little Planet again, but
Yeah.
a little
I do-
more fun.
Man, it actually does remind me. I've got a little thesis statement about Sonic CD I want to make towards the
Yeah,
end.
and
We're
Cirrus
kinda
has a little
wrapping up, but
feces statement.
I'm gonna wait for him to come back because I actually got to piss. But
Goodness gracious, we're on top of it today, guys.
I'm trying to keep up with my fluids.
It's fine. Like, I interrupted the entire show for just a weird ass story from one of my friends.
That was
Shall we
fucking great.
shall we have a little wager? What kind of consistency do you think it is?
So I'm not. Nope. I want to actually
Alright,
talk about the
okay,
angel statue
yep.
because the chat's talking about it, and this is part of why I like exploring games. I like weird little Easter eggs or weird random crap that I can't properly explain, like Majin faces or these other weird things. I didn't know about this weird random angel statue in Wacky Workbench
I have no idea. what
until
you're
I
talking about.
then I didn't know this thing existed until there was an achievement for it in the Whitehead re-release.
I'm gonna Google it.
It's just a sprite of just a female-ish human.
Oh
that's-
no way, she's hot.
Super hot. Oh yeah, for a little sprite statue.
You know what it actually kind of reminds me of? This is going to be a bit of a reach, but it's something about it reminds me of Tikal.
It does. Yeah, good. That's a good point. I have never. Huh. You know, I thought of a fun way if we ever get a 2D Sonic game again to reference Tikal. If they did that statue in...
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the statue shows back up in Mania, though.
Does it? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like most people know what we're talking about. So yes, there is a secret area in Wacky Workbench specifically that has an angel statue. I think it unlocks an achievement, but I don't think it does anything else. I can't tell you I remember how to get there from here. But this game was so full of stuff like this, and I genuinely didn't know what to expect level to level, even if a lot of this was built off of Sonic 1. That yeah, and again, because this was like, we didn't have a lot of Sonic that I could choose from back then.
Well,
This is the kind of stuff that left like a very good impression despite the frustrations as a kid.
well, I think that's also part of the thing. Is so like somebody like me that's picking up Sonic CD way after the fact, having played a lot of other Sonic games that run off of very different principles of level design. If you've only ever played Sonic 1 and then you're moving on to Sonic CD, this is almost exclusively an upgrade. And I think it's worth noting that the gameplay philosophy of Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and onward hadn't really been established by the time Sonic CD came around. This
No.
idea of taking so much more of your time, about exploring, the platforming getting a bigger emphasis, everything like that. I think that worked for its era, so it's a little unfair to compare it with like my own experiences, basing it off of everything I've played that came afterward, if that makes sense.
I agree, but I think your critique as well, and a lot of these people are now finally playing the game, also merits discussion as well, because you do see a lot of what this game was doing was strange enough with like what Adventure was doing, which was like, we're trying to do everything. Like, we just have a crazy idea and we're trying to put as much as we can to show off what this thing can do. And I think that flies in the face of what you're actually there for a lot of the time. Because yeah, it's cool to like time travel and everything like that, but like, if it keeps you from being Sonic, then you might have a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's certainly like, I'm not trying to invalidate the criticisms, especially since a lot of the criticisms are coming from me. Because I don't know that I fully care for Sonic CD in its finished form, but I love so much about it conceptually, and
Don't
guess
just
I
do
get
like another do-over for it then?
Jesus Christ, welcome back from the dead, dude.
Gee, fucking, what were you doing? Passing kidney stones or something?
At least-
Fucking hell.
At least a few.
Imagine shitting. Couldn't be me.
It couldn't be you.
Wayne, do you got to go piss now?
I do. Give me 1 second.
Go, yeah, go do the piss. We'll go over some previous stages with Cirrus quickly. So, Cirrus, thoughts on Quartz Quadrant?
It's not when my problems with this game begin. I don't mind Quartz Quadrant too terribly much.
All right, Wacky Workbench.
Kill me.
Okay, and now we're all caught up.
So
Do you guys remember I really should have played this game before for doing this. I'm going off of memory, but it's disjointed in my old age. What was the boss for this one again?
There was these moving platforms, I think, and like they had spikies on the bottom, and the platforms lower, and you have to jump onto them until you eventually reach Robotnik at the top. And I think it's a one-hit kill situation.
That's right. It was kind of familiar, kind of similar with the water one.
The Tidal Tempest one where you were able
Yeah,
to choose
very
most
vertical.
of his damage.
Oh wait, hold on. I think I might have this wrong. Hang on, wait. No, yeah, wait.
No, you're right.
No,
They
I'm not.
implemented.
I'm not right. There's rubble falling from the sky, and
Yeah,
you have to
no.
jump on the platform.
I know what you were talking about.
Yeah,
when-
'cause
Yeah, I
this
had
is-
it confused for something else. I think
So-
that's
I have a funny thing with the Wacky Workbench boss. So, and Nick can attest, because Nick was there when I actually did my first playthrough of the game, and I started my second playthrough while we were on call together. And when I started my second playthrough, I was like, you know what? I want to go through this game as Tails, because I want to go through Wacky Workbench as Tails. Because as much as I hated Wacky Workbench as Sonic, Wacky Workbench as Tails is basically playing the helicopter Flash game. And it is wonderful. Like,
just
as Tails, that level's fine because it's just playing the helicopter Flash game. But I remember getting to the rubble boss, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fly to the top and see if they accounted for the fact that Tails can see up here, and they didn't. So when the rubble is being made, If you're as Sonic, it's like, oh, it's from the level above me. The rubble's being dropped from the level above me, and then I'm gonna have to crawl up the rubble to get up top. If you play as Tails and you're flying up where the rubble's, if you're flying up like right under the next level, the rubble spawns in midair. It just flickers into existence, and it's so
Also-
weird to watch.
A bit of
That's
trivia here. With that statue of my wife that is hidden in Wacky Workbench, if you get the bad future, that gorgeous, sexy lady transforms into a gorgeous, sexy Robotnik.
Oh god, Takal, what happened to you?
She's not Takal, you a kid and a fucking creep.
It is to me.
Wait.
Leave me alone.
Oh no! I don't want to say that
She's
joke.
13.
Whoa.
Anyways. Okay, so moving along to Stardust Speedway Zone. So,
Hang on.
think-
Technically, hang on. Technically, Takal's like hundreds of years old, isn't she?
yeah, but she's still got the
Yes.
body of a 13-year-old, so you're still fucking weird.
What 13-year-old looks like that?
What
I never
13-year-old
said
looks like
anything
an
about
echidna,
wanting
so
What,
it's
yeah, I was
fine.
about to say, what 13-year-old looks like an
anything
echidna?
about wanting to fuck Takal.
Were we not in agreement that we all wanted to fuck the statue from Wacky Workbench?
No, you wanted to.
Do you not want to fuck the statue?
Well, here's the thing. So,
I want to fuck the statue.
because I am seeing people talk about this here. I wanted to talk about Wacky Workbench again, because again, this is like a fun idea not properly implemented. Which again, that's so much Sonic. God, hindsight hurts me so hard. I really like the bouncy floor. I like the idea that it can get in your way, but man, this thing is such a cramped mess of a level. But I gotta say, and now that my memory has returned to me, I do like that a lot of these boss fights, not every single one of them, but a lot of these boss fights take parts of the level and implement it as well, which was not something we saw a whole lot with classic Sonic.
No, we didn't.
Oh my
I
God.
just really like how creative they can be with that.
This chat is moving in a horrible direction.
So that is, well, I mean, who
Bruh.
brought it there?
It's your
Right,
fault.
okay, but here's a fucking question, right? Let's say you saw a little girl, and then she said she's 10,000 years old. Do you fuck her? No, you don't fuck
No.
her.
What do
That's
we look
gonna-
like?
We're
Fire
done.
Emblem
failure.
fans?
That's
Wait.
fuck. Stop being
Oh
so fucked.
no!
Why
You
are
guys
we
are
here? Why are we at this stage of the conversation? Why are
Being
we-
10,000
why
years
are
old
we
doesn't make a
here?
difference if your aging structure is still overall lower.
I don't.
Are we
I don't-
talking about
10,000-year-old
this?
child
I
is still a
don't
child,
think-
goddammit.
I don't think that this is a conversation we should be having.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Yeah,
I think we're
I
done
think-
with this.
I think.
All
this
right,
is
so
the
Stardust
sixth-
Speedway Zone
The
then in that
sixth
case.
meeting for
Um,
Sunset City has taken place.
Oh my God, Cirrus, we're done.
So, Stardust Speedway. Right. Fuck, Cirrus, you've got me off track now. I had a thing to say.
What?
Okay. So this is kind of the parallel to Starlight Zone. And I think in terms of aesthetics and boss fight, yeah, it makes fucking Starlight Zone look like a pile of shit.
Trumpets.
design
There's
on-
so many trumpets in this level.
The level design on Starlight Zone is better in my opinion because this is a shit show as far as level
Dude.
design is concerned.
This feels like it's like you know the tubes in Chemical Plant that take you from one part of the level to another.
What if it
this-
was just tubes?
What if it was just tubes? And here's the kicker: what if they took you in seemingly random maze-like directions, and by the time you know where you're going, it feels like you've ripped off a scab. Jesus, I don't hate this level as much as I hated Wacky Workbench, but I did not enjoy this level in the slightest. I hated maneuvering this level like I was Sonic the fucking hamster.
It's not an enjoyable level.
Yeah, no, it's tedious. This is one of those levels I greatly appreciate. A lot of problems I have with Mania is just reusing stuff we've seen before, but I really do appreciate that they brought in Sonic CD levels, and it does feel like they refined those because I think those ones and ones from 1 specifically needed it.
No.
don't think
Refine's not the word, Nick, here. No. Unfucked is the word for this one.
Oh, wish I could be unfugged. Um,
God
Oh,
damn it. Would you like your V
Because-
card back?
please.
I wanna-
Sonic had
I
a
wanna
rough
buy
transition
it.
to CD.
So I gotta say though, it is still one of the most memorable spots of the game, and this is one of those things I actively didn't want the good future for, and that's for the boss fight of this game, which is what everything this game was building to. Like this is what they had to hit out of the park. This is their Green Hill Zone, and I thought they did it beautifully, and that's the race with Metal Sonic.
This is the
Mhm.
climax, and this is where I climax.
Yep.
Yeah.
110%. We
So-
polished that shiny boy right up.
Nick, you have a lot to say about Metal Sonic, don't you? Can you say an abridged version of your overall views on his design? I mean, we kind of went into this in the Metal Sonic episode, but like, you know, you've got
Yeah,
a lot
and
to
I'm
say
gonna
here.
I'm gonna also wait because I mean I'm gonna be repeating points. I've said it in the Sonic CD episode. I'm gonna say it in a upcoming Metal or Mecha Madness March thing. Whenever I do that March, that's when I'll do it again.
All right, we'll just
But
blue ball the live audience, and then
shit, let me
we'll
finish
throw
my
content.
fucking sentence.
Okay, sorry.
Mommy and Daddy are always fighting. It's so violent here.
Sir,
Wait a
I'm
minute,
scared.
you're not mommy. You got the milkers.
So, and
No,
I'll
sir, it's
bring
just
this
the
up for the
milkman.
wider audience of the Badniks and or all the Badniks and stuff like that. What I love about Metal Sonic more than anything else is that it is distinctly his own design while still being Sonic. But it's creepy. It's somehow supernatural and skeletal and otherworldly, but it's still a robot. And I think that vibe of that design is kind of what helped inspire the soundtrack on the American side of things and why they went so creepy with everything else, because his presence does add this weird creepy factor. This is, even with Majin Sonic there, this is our Sonic EXE. This is what kicked off a creepier side of Sonic for me, was this robot.
Yeah.
And it helped with that bad future because again, like I love the Japanese race. That track is amazing and it's iconic and it's beautiful. Took me many years to kind of warm up to it, but I finally did, and I adore it. And I like the energy it brings to that race, but I also like the American side of things where it seems like just everything's in ruin and desperate, and I just love it. I love everything about this. This is one of the best moments in any part of Sonic history as far as I'm concerned.
If I could just kind of like add to that, this is going to sound like a weird tangent, but I swear I'm going somewhere with this. One of my favorite things about Spider-Man has always been this idea that the whole getting bit by a radioactive spider, getting these powers, turning into a hero, that's something that could have happened to anybody, but it was the spirit and the heart of Peter Parker that, you know, made him who he was. And it was through certain events, because he was going down a much darker path at first, and he could have become somebody completely different, someone much more malicious, somebody much darker, versus the Peter Parker and the Spider-Man that we ended up seeing. For Sonic and Metal Sonic, when I look at him, and I was replaying that fight with Metal Sonic, and I was thinking to myself, this is just a dark reflection of the Sonic that's already there. That sassiness, that attitude, that snark, that's something that already exists in Sonic, and this is just like, I mean, given that this is a past and future, like different timelines and everything, it feels like this is a Sonic that could have been that Eggman has just brought into reality.
Well,
And-
not even that. Like in the American side of things back then,
See, this was robotization for us.
that's robotization. Yeah, that's what we had, which was a super creepy concept.
So, like, the idea was that literally was Sonic, but roboticized.
That's a lot of fan theories out there. I mean, you can find.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's a Sonic
I
from
do like
another
that as a
timeline
concept.
because of the time travel stuff. Maybe that's Sonic from the bad future being just popped in.
I do not hate that idea, to be honest.
Which would also explain why Eggman keeps using that specific one over and over and over again.
It would
too.
also
Yeah.
explain why that Sonic has such a fascination with being the original Sonic, because if we're just dumping head first into fan theory mode, for that Sonic, he is the original. If
They
we're
should
going
do
with that
that.
fan theory.
They should do
And-
that. They should do like a game that does the origins of like Metal Sonic, and it's a perfectly normal Sonic game until like during the third act of the game, Robotnik just puts Sonic in a roboticization chamber, and sets him out and just says, "Right, you're going to the past, and you're gonna fucking kill your past self."
And this is something that I really admire about Sonic CD because it's something I love from this era of games. I talk about it with Super Metroid and stuff like that all the time, where you can tell a narrative with nothing but the visuals, the body movement, or body language rather, of your characters and everything like that. Metal Sonic does that brilliantly, and I think that they were able to get some mileage out of that, where they don't spell everything out for you, but they give you enough to just kind of like play around within your head, where it's like, what is Metal Sonic's whole deal? There's so much to chew on with just him as an entity and as a concept. When he's there, he's just got this terrifying presence. He feels like somebody that you don't want to screw around with. You have to take him seriously, and I love that about him.
Something
And
I've
you
always found. Sorry, go on, Nick.
No, you go first.
Well, I was going to say something I've always found quite funny, and I did a tweet about this, is how, like, Metal Sonic, you look at him and you look at his character, and he's like this creepy fucking sales auditor who would be willing to fire you on the spot over the slightest slip up. But his theme music is straight up party music, and it literally never fits him. It even carries on into Sonic Colors Ultimate. Like, his theme is fucking party music, and it's like, this guy is anything but a party. Like, for fuck's sake, guys. That's where the US soundtrack does it a little better, I think. Because
That's why I like it better. But I mean, I think that's more thematically for what's happening there. As a track, it's a fucking banger. But yeah, it's God, this fight, like, you play Sonic 1, you can play Green Hill, and you're good. Like, that's why you play the game. You play through Sonic CD just to get to this point.
You want to experience this.
And like, I could tell you how many times I was just like, oh, Metallic Madness? No thanks. Bye. Like, I'm done here. Like, this is the climax of the game as far as I'm concerned. And the following level, I don't even know why it's there. I know we have some scrap stuff that it would have been something bigger and crazier. And I do think we needed to wrap things up with Robotnik and, save the world and everything. But you could tell everything revolved around Metal Sonic, especially after I got Sonic Jam and I saw all the stuff that had been hidden from me as an American, the Sonic OVA, all the commercials for Sonic CD, which featured this beautiful, like, for the time, CG renders of the characters. Like, he was such a big deal for this game, and you could tell, like, we did something pretty dope. This is cool. Let's work with it. And have you guys noticed that a lot of the Badniks kind of share some of his design, like the ring eyes and the more smoothed out design?
Yeah.
Like, going forward, like, when you get Badniks like the Egg Pawns and stuff, you do kind of get those little hints. Like, they're obviously a little more goofy, but I mean, the hints are there.
Yeah.
Serious, are you eating?
I mean, with the mic muted.
Could
None of you can hear.
you wait till you're done with the show, man?
Oh, what are you eating?
Pizza?
You gonna share it?
No.
Then put it away.
Welcome to Pub Schoolhouse. God damn.
God, fuck.
Schoolhouse pup.
Do you have
Oh.
enough for the whole class?
The next stage is Metallic Madness. Yeah, as we say, more or less the climax of this game was the Metal Sonic race. But then again, I do think it is important to get one over on Robotnik. So let's talk about Metallic Madness. I like the shrinky Sonic. He's very cute. What do you guys think?
It feels like you just jump into like 8-bit Sonic mode. Like, okay, now I'm hopping into the Game Gear, guys. See ya.
I think it's a cute concept. And they do play with it a little bit, but I got more lost than anything else for the first time I played that game.
Metallic
level.
Madness sure is a level.
It's a tedious level.
That's to say, it fucking sucks and I hate it. I'm kidding. No, it is tedious. I think it's like the longest winded level in the game for me, where it's just like, God, it just it goes on forever. I don't like it. The exploration feels at its worst. Where it's just like, God, everything takes twice as long as it should.
Well, it
Just
feels a little more cramped than some of the other levels. Like, the only level that's as cramped as this one to me was Wacky Workbench.
I think, yeah, that's the thing for me, is that the verticality, I think, is is taken to a whole nother extreme, or it's I'm having trouble finding out how I want to describe this place. It really just does feel like they wanted to try to create something that was just like taking advantage of everything that you've learned about how things are laid out in these stages and how exploration works in Sonic CD, and just kind of give you like the pentultimate version of that, which obviously like the final area of the game should do. But to me, it just highlights all the worst flaws: bottomless pits, constantly like running into spikes and then never really knowing where you're going. This is the only one where I just like got stuck for a while.
My absolute favorite thing about this stage, though, is kind of the foreshadowing it has. Obviously, the opening title theme, if you've got the Japanese version, is "You can do anything." But in the background of Metallic Madness, you can hear a robotic voice say, "You can't do anything, so don't even try. Get some help."
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be Robotnik. I guess they were going to give him some weird Stephen Hawking sounding voice at that time. That would have been cool.
Just Robotnik communicates with Sonic using that the whole time.
He
And
just permanently has like the cash vocoder on him at all times.
Jesus. Just imagine if there was like a canon where Eggman used a vocoder to talk to Sonic, but not because he's mute, but because he thinks Sonic is that beneath him that he's not worth his lungs.
Christ.
Wow.
Oh man.
Now that is a Robotnik.
I do even like the idea that something I've always really liked about Robotnik is that he's so obsessed with his own genius and his own prowess and everything that he would literally give up his own humanity just to get the upper hand on something.
I've always wanted to actually
it's a very
see like,
Archie thing
That's-
that happened there.
I've
that is-
always wanted to see Robotnik like robotize himself.
That
Like,
is
was
that
so
is
cool.
a
That's-
thing that
that's
happens in
Archie.
Archie. Like the
Okay,
And
well,
whole
that
contenders for that
minus-
specifically.
that minus the animal sex, and we're game.
like no, a whole thing in
Mm.
Archie was that like there was a semi-roboticized Robotnik who
No,
they-
there's a full-on robot.
Well, I know. I'm
I'll
saying
ta-
they had there's a person they beat, and then of course there's Robotnik as a secondary, more like dangerous character who comes in and replaces him.
well, no, that's Robotnik from another timeline who is a roboticized Robotnik.
Yeah.
Who amplified his powers and took over his universe.
There was a whole thing where you just see him like selecting a body from various Robotnik designs too. It's really neat.
And we'll talk about it in speed reading or when we talk about it on the show. It's a whole thing. We can't get into it now. It is a mess.
So let's talk
Archie's
about
fucking
the-
weird.
Let's talk about the
Eggman, the
final,
Clone Saga.
the final
Yeah.
boss of the game, which I think is one of the least
mo-
whelming bosses in the classic
least
Sonic
whelming.
things.
I have forgot. So I just
It's a
beat this
propeller.
game like a week ago, and I've forgotten what the boss is.
It's a propeller, and
It is-
you hit it 4 times.
I can even tell you as a child, I was like, what is this?
Oh yeah, this is the thing.
Are
where
you
he's-
kidding me?
Yeah, I remember the boss now. I'll forget it in another week.
I don't mind them not doing the giant neck thing for the final boss, but like for example, I think Big Arm is a perfectly fair final boss. This is just feels like a standard Sonic boss fight. It feels kind of like you fight this and then you fight something else later, which allegedly is something that was supposed to happen. Is there's supposed to be like a giant Robotnik mech in like the final
Yeah.
boss, which got cut.
Which-
No idea why they didn't put that in the Whitehead port.
I mean,
And ironically enough, it does feel like that happened with Mania as well. If you go with the Egg Monarch, I refuse to
because
believe that
there's-
wasn't.
There's
Yeah.
literally no giant that you see it, but you don't fight it.
it's really weird too, because like now that I'm thinking about this particular boss fight, it feels a lot like the boss fight in Sonic 1 where it's just the pistons coming down,
Mhm.
and that's your final fight there. And it's like of all the battles, this feels really anticlimactic. Like this is, at least for Sonic 1, you could make the narrative excuse that, oh well, Eggman's out of mechs. This is his last ditch effort to try to kill you. Like he's literally just trying to beat you down with the machinery that he just has in his factory on the assembly line, and that's it. But for this boss, this is a purpose-made mech that just, it feels like it was on the design table halfway through and he just didn't finish it.
This to me is not one of the worst final boss fights. This is one of the worst boss fights, period. you
Oh.
can't attack it without getting hurt, right? Like that
Yeah, you
first
can.
time.
Yeah.
Can you attack that first time without getting
Well,
hurt?
Okay, so there's 2 steps to this. Step 1 is get good. Step 2 is when he
Ugh.
expands his little propeller wing things out. If you do a well-timed, well-coordinated jump, you can get through without hitting the propellers.
Okay, well that's me not playing this game for years, so I apologize for that. That's
Fucking
fair,
boomer.
but that's I'm the one that should relate to this game the best. I should know this already, but that said, this is a nothing fight. This is as nothing of a fight as the very first boss fight. Like they bookend this game with like these embarrassing battles with Robotnik. They get so creative in between all that. It makes me wonder what the hell happened.
Metal Sonic really was the climax of that game.
And they were building up to it. Like that was clearly the point. It has the most polish of anything else happening in that game. And yeah, dude, like I don't know, man. Like this game was such a weird, wild adventure. It really deserved a bit more at the end there. Like maybe again, this is why I would like a proper sequel. I think like playing with like the time travel in the final boss fight would have been like a really cool idea.
Have him like hop into different timelines, and you have to chase him through the timelines.
And yeah, you
Nice.
almost see something like that in Mania again, where you
I
have
was
to
about to
take-
bring that up.
yeah. It's I see a lot of Mania in that fight, or sorry, a lot of CD in that final boss fight, just in terms of how it's set up and all that. And they were just like, yeah, but what if we just went nuts with it and we just have a Phantom Ruby instead of Time Stones?
The thing is, like, even if you compare this to other small mech final boss fights, like, I have no issue with them not always necessarily doing the gigantic final boss. But it's like Sonic 3, for example. Big Arm is quite a small, average-sized Robotnik mech, but you've at least got things like the 2 bosses that precede it, the sky going dark. It at least feels climactic. This doesn't. Nothing like you could take this exact boss and make it feel a bit more climactic by just staging it a bit differently, but they don't. And even worse, in the USA version, his boss theme isn't even any different to the regular boss theme.
Not to mention, with this is the type of boss that you can put as like the second or third boss earlier in this game or any other 2D Sonic game, and it feels it feels okay as a second or third boss.
No one would know.
But because it doesn't feel wrong there to me, is
Comparatively to what Sonic 1 had, or like the early boss fights in 2, I agree. Yeah.
like it's obviously not going to outdo the stuff we get by the time we get to 3. Like 3's boss design is a lot better managed and better handled than what we get in those original games. But
I mean, like, I'd say in terms of the bullshit scale, Death Egg Robot is quite a bullshitty boss, but at least it feels climactic.
It feels like a
proper.
proper final challenge, and
Yeah.
there are means to tackle it. It's not unfair once you take your time and handle it. It is. I mean, it's frustrating when you don't have any rings to tackle that, but it is still a designed fight, and this doesn't feel like it's anything.
let's just throw damaging hitboxes at you, and we'll get rid of the hitboxes the longer the fight goes. The fight scales down, not up. Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, it really doesn't feel like Robotnik's giving it his all here. He's just phoned it in this time.
He's
It's
just
like, "Ah,
tired. He's
fine,
tuckered out.
You fucking won this, but I'm still gonna just get the propeller. Let's just see if this works.
He gets to just be depressed Eggman from Sonic and Tails are.
He's so sad that his favorite has been destroyed that he's just like,
My son.
I miss my son, Sonic.
I miss him a lot.
Oh my god. The
I miss my wife, Tails.
I know the stupid meme, but like, you ever have one of those things that just plays in your head and you just can't help it?
Yep.
All right, so yeah. I think it doesn't feel like we have a lot of energy today, and I think that's from our own personal lives and everything else, but I also think it's because it's just not I don't know, man. Like there's a lot of this game that I don't greatly enjoy, but I do still appreciate, to the point where I like that I see inspiration going forward. I really like the kind of end boss battles in Sonic 4 Episode 2, even if the mechanics aren't super hot. I like everything that Mania took from this game, but at the end of the day, this is strangely one of those games where, if I'm like truly honest with myself, I like game preservation. I think everything should be playable and everyone should have a chance to try anything. But if I'm selfish, I kind of wish this stayed on the Sega CD, because that was a weird machine and it had weird games and it came out at a weird time. And this,
Sewer
of all the
Shark
classic
and Night
Sonic
Trap.
games, is very much of its time, and I appreciated that weird surreal experience that it was.
Yeah.
When it's on everything, then it loses that appeal, and
It starts to
I-
stick out like a sore thumb.
Well, that's
Yeah, I
kind of what I
guess-
was getting at with if you're trying to compare it with everything that came after, because it was almost part of a different kind of Sonic series when it was being developed.
yeah.
I did want to mention though, and this was kind of my whole thing. I would love to see not so much a remake, but more of like a reimagining of this idea of Sonic CD in a 3D space.
Ooh.
Kind of taking some inspiration from the Sonic level design of, say, Sonic Adventure 1, where I think that game did a really good job of having these more open areas for you to explore that just let you just go nuts. I think that this exploration idea, these mechanics, I think that they actually lend themselves so much better to a 3D space than they do a 2D one.
A Sonic
And-
a Sonic collectathon with these ideas.
Something
Oh.
like that, yeah.
You know, I think I had the perfect game for that. Sonic Lost World.
Get
you
out!
know what?
Lost World is still a very linear level based game, though. It doesn't.
I
It
just
doesn't.
have a scowl on my face. The thing with Lost World is I play it, I have fun, and I'm like, this ain't so bad. But for some reason, whenever I'm not playing, I'm like, fuck that game.
That's kind of how I am with it as well. Like when I'm in the middle of like, so when I did my last Lost World playthrough, I was doing it on stream right after a Forces playthrough, and like, there was just this smile on my face of like, wow, this is so much better. But like when I'm not playing, I
Multiple
don't.
paths.
So,
I
boys,
don't have the thought in my head of I should go back and play that game again.
That's the opposite of Stockholm Syndrome.
They should
It
put
is.
Zavok in Sonic CD retroactively and make
God
him the
damn it.
final boss.
No, I knew it. I knew it. God damn it.
He just comes in, Doctor, I will control your minion now.
The thing about Lost World is I think it's a good game, but I fucking hate it because like
We're done.
it's a
Stop.
competent platformer, but it's so un-Sonic in every way, and it just
And
fucking pisses.
It-
Anyway,
that-
so
that-
to summarize my thoughts, sorry Wayne, fucking, I'm
You're
bullying
fine.
you here. No, please go ahead, because I'm just about to summarize my thoughts on Sonic CD, Lost World Infinite. So if you would like to just,
You know what, though? Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, they did a better job explaining Little Planet than they ever did with Lost Hex, which is just there.
Yep.
Wayne, you
Little
sound
Planet-
really different. That's very strange. You sound like Nick today.
Oh, God. But,
That sounded like Trey.
I said Wayne could speak.
Nick,
great.
go ahead.
but just as a quick thing there, like I appreciate that they actually explained that Little Planet shows up in the orbit of Sonic's planet once a year. Lost Hex is just fucking there.
It's a thing.
Yep.
It's in the
Sonic-
sky.
Like
The planes crash into it every so often.
it's so weird because like with the Little Planet thing with Eggman chaining it down, it makes sense that he would, because and he does that fucking later in Sonic Colors. He's just like, what if I took one planet and instead grabbed all the planets?
It actually makes sense, actually, now. I figured it out. You know the Malaysia flight that went missing?
Oh my
Oh
god!
no!
Wait,
It's
is-
on the Lost
is that-
Hex. It's
is
on
that
the
on
Lost
the
Hex.
Lost
That's where it is.
Is the Lost Hex just the Bermuda Triangle
my
of
God.
Sonic?
I mean,
It would be much cooler if it was, but I would say, let's be real, like thematically, Sonic CD is the Bermuda Triangle of this entire franchise.
Yeah, fair
I
enough.
just
So to summarize my overall thoughts on Sonic CD, I think it's aged like milk, but like the whole mechanic and level design do not work together. It's easily one of the less memorable Sonic games. So overall, I'm gonna give it a 9.1 out of 10 and say there's something for everyone.
Too much
that's-
water.
That's
too
what-
much.
You
God
got
damn it!
the
No,
reference.
don't be
That's,
that fucking Pokemon.
That's almost where I have to come into contrast, because I think it's one of the most memorable Sonic games. I just think it's one of the least fun to revisit. And my thing is just like, as much as I did not enjoy playing this game, I loved so much about it conceptually, spiritually. I was talking about like some other Sonic games that I just don't really respect on the same level as others because I don't feel like there was any heart there. With this, I feel nothing but heart. I feel nothing but inspiration. This is a game that people cared about and they really wanted to play around with some really, really inspired ideas. I think it's so beautiful in just the way that it's conceptualized and everything like that. And I just wish it belonged to a better game. And that's kind of why I would like to see a reimagining of it. I want
Yeah.
to see these ideas and these inspirations, this passion. I want to see it put towards something else that maybe it just fits better with. Because I think that everything that's here on its foundation deserves to be in a better game.
There are a couple things before Cirrus, before you give your final thoughts that we
Yeah.
should probably mention here too. Just because you do have great points, Wayne. I think I agree with everything you're saying there. Yeah, they do a lot of like things that we don't see otherwise. I think why I tolerate it as well as I do is because it doesn't change Sonic's core physics. So I have something I'm familiar with when I'm tackling these weird environments. And so there's not a new thing I need to learn on top of everything else I have to learn. So I think that's why I'm more tolerant of it. I appreciate because Sonic's like riding a bike, the classic games. Like once you get the hang of it, like you could take that anywhere, and that's why I respect the core mechanics as much as I do. But things we didn't mention that this game does, we have the shittier spin dash, and then we have the really stylish
No, the
super peel out.
Which is fucking useless as well. Like, it goes
It's
as
just
fast
style,
as the
yeah.
spin dash, except you can get hit in the face by it. Like, imagine pitching that. Like, hey kids, you want to see Sonic's new move? Yeah! Okay, so it's like the spin dash, but you can still get hurt by things. What the fuck is that all about?
To be fair though, this game was in development in tandem with Sonic 2. Like the spin dash was a new thing, period, at that point.
But it goes to show you like how much style mattered over everything else that a lot of what Sonic was doing, whereas like we're gonna put the super peel out here. It has some mechanics. Well, you just put it in the spin dash. Yeah, but this looks cool.
It does
Yeah.
look cool, but it looks cool.
It's so cool.
It's the reason why when we got Sonic in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, everybody was so happy that he had the figure 8 run. They're like, oh my god, it's the peel out!
Yeah, and that's why I use it all the time as a kid too, because like, wow, this looks rad. But on top of that as well, another super memorable thing we did not talk about at all was the toy animation.
Oh, yeah, best thing about the game.
Oh, it's so
It was-
beautiful.
So I have a couple things to say about it. The first one is, oh boy, did this not look that great when it was on the Sega CD itself. It looked so
Really impressive back then. I'll promise you that much. Like,
I-
well, the
I-
Sonic cartoon, and it's that fucking sad AM shit.
So in the same way that when I played Legacy of Goku the first time, seeing the little like bit crunched scenes from the show were interesting, but I really appreciate being able to see this in other versions, because you gotta
Oh
remember,
my
for
god,
me,
yeah.
I did not experience Sonic CD on original hardware first. I experienced my first exposure to it was watching the opening cutscene as part of the Sonic Mega Collections demonstration, because there's a whole like history of Sonic thing you can watch on there. And the
Mhm.
Sonic CD, the Sonic CD portion of that was my first exposure to CD, and it's what made me start seeking out YouTubers talking about it, because it made me interested in that. Then when I actually got to see what Sonic CD looked like on the original hardware, it was really underwhelming, because I had seen the full-on toy animation first before watching the bit crunched compressed version.
It's also
And-
worth noting, this game marks the first time I think that we hear Sonic's voice, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It does.
Oh yeah, when he commits suicide?
Yeah, when he commits
Oh.
suicide.
Oh,
And
There
that's
was like
funny.
weird commercials or shit like that in Japan. Maybe that might have had him.
Or,
He was
or
when
when
you
it's
get
like
like
a
one-ups
one-up
and
as well.
stuff.
he's like,
Yeah.
yes.
Apparently,
He
that's
sounds
the
like
same
he's-
voice actor as who sang one of the songs, like the Toot Toot song.
I thought you
Nothing.
said he's the same voice actor as Hussein. I was like, who's Hussein?
Oh my god!
Oh god, no.
Dear
You were
God.
just talking about how Eggman's the terrorist.
Dude, Hussein's a perfectly normal name, man. Okay, don't get the association mixed up. Dude, that's really actually quite insensitive of you.
I hate So, yeah, in conclusion, I think all of us appreciate a lot about Sonic CD more than we actually enjoy the game itself.
There's a lot of ideas worth mining, and I don't think they're done with it. I hope they're not anyway, because I think
Mhm.
Mania and future stuff definitely inspired that. And I mean, the toy animation was such a breath of fresh air, even in that crunched up bit as it was, because all I had was the thin, sharp spikes of Sonic in Adventures and SatAM, which was not a fan of. I
Mohawk.
wanted to see more of, my full-bodied haired Sonic, and man, that animation was like the first time I got to see a cartoon of my boy doing what I wanted to see him doing. It was really special, and it was like I gotta admit, dude, like I think I almost teared up when I finally got to see that full and clear for the first time years later, because it was just something I desperately wanted. Like, I want to see what this actually looks like, or that tiny little screen where Metal Sonic is definitely there. I can't see him super well, but I finally got the full thing, and it's as beautiful as I could remember. And like, that's how I have to remember it now. I can't even really remember how crunchy and bad the CD version was. It's so good. Anyway,
With apologies to anyone called Hussein. I had a manager called Hussein at one of my previous jobs, and he was anything but a terrorist.
I think you're
Um,
sticking on this a little
so-
too long, pup.
carry it on.
I just wanted to stress that, okay?
You're
goodness
making
gracious,
it.
what-
You're making it weird.
We're having
Let's
the
just-
meeting now.
We're having
Um,
the meeting now.
We're having so many meetings.
Jesus.
It's only a matter of time till we're all fired. It just becomes Nick's podcast.
So let's
So-
let's wrap it up, and let's get
do-
to.
Okay, so final thoughts on Sonic CD, everyone.
I thought we just had them.
Well, I
Okay,
mean,
well, are we done? Are we done with that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, well, okay, let's move on then.
I'll
to-
do mine another day, I suppose.
The-
wait,
What?
hang on.
I
I'm sorry,
gave you the
sir.
opportunity, did I
Oh
not?
my God, no, we've been talking the whole time. I'm
You
sorry.
think-
Go ahead, sir.
Seriously?
Oh my god, pup. So I guess there's the little bit of echoing that I do have to say, where like there's a lot of ideas in CD that get carried over that I think I like better when they're carried over. I like the idea that we actually have Metal Sonic in modern media again. There was this long drought where we just didn't have him, and we have him again now, and I'm happy with that. I do like that there is at least a little consistency with time travel in Sonic's universe. The idea that Sonic has a linear time travel, it literally gets carried over into stuff like Sonic 06. Despite people's grievances with that game, but time travel works pretty much the same way in that game, plot holes aside. I like that a lot of that stuff gets carried over from here, even if I don't like the base game itself. And it is a game that when I played through it the first time, it was very frustrating. When I revisit it, it feels like familiarity makes this game a lot more palatable. But that's kind of also the problem. When you're playing a game like this, especially a Sonic game, first impressions matter, especially more so when it's like almost the second-ish game of your entire series. I really wish the first impressions would have been a little better for me, and so it wouldn't have taken me so long to actually complete this game. But I
when
don't
you talk
hate
about
it.
first impressions, though, dude. Like, I mean, were you playing it when it initially released? Because this was the praises were sung, back and forth back then for this game. Like, this was why you bought a Sega CD.
That's fair.
And apparently, according to some, this was the only good Sonic game.
Oh my god. Yeah.
All right,
Not
are you
untrue.
fucking done? Are we moving on to the part where we read out the absolutely hated and despised things that make us feel very awkward every time we receive them, and people shouldn't send us these?
I'm going to.
Are you going to become the Joker?
How much violence do we want to commit this episode?
I'm very upset every time I receive one of these, literally. So let's let's start at the top, everybody, with our pal Jamal with $2, who says, "Happy B Theory, everyone." He's so nice, isn't he, Jamal?
I fucking love Jamal.
He's so nice. Why
It's
can't we
always good to
more
have you,
Jamal?
man.
I love Jamal.
Well, thank you, man. Next is Junkyard Productions with $5. Wayne, you check out SMBZ. Have you?
I have not. I'm actually waiting because I think the crew and I actually discussed how we were gonna try to watch it together sometime, just for funsies. So I'm probably just gonna hold out for that, just so the boys here can kind of see my raw first reactions to what I've been hearing is a very fun little series.
It is.
We've been discussing doing things outside of the podcast once, because I should mention everybody. I've kind of told my day job I'm done, so I'm gonna have more time to focus on stuff. And one of those things is getting us updated on our podcast end of things, audio wise, because people have been desperate for that. But I think if we had the time, we'd have a lot of fun, like doing streams that didn't relate to the podcast and maybe some other stuff. But we'll talk about it. We got plans for that
Yeah.
specifically.
Stuff going
And
on in the future.
Yeah, and Junkyard also asked, do you guys think you could do a FanWorks episode? I think we will eventually.
We did Sage, but like the thing with fan work episodes is that every single fan made thing ever is terrible. So we don't
Oh my
we don't
god.
want to drag anyone
Uh.
through the mud or make an example out of anyone. So we've got to tread carefully there as we see through the shit that, no, I'm just kidding. I love fan works. But like, yeah, no, we did Sage. There's potentially more on the cards, but of course, we want to deal with it in a way that's more encouraging than anything else. So we just have to calculate it and learn how to not be terrible people.
Exactly. There we
So
go.
then we've got Anim Soltron says, well, he sends $4.99 and says, have you ever noticed that Metal Sonic's hand is missing on the desktop icon for the PC version of Sonic CD? Franchise ruined. What a fucking mess. What, did Blind Squirrel do that?
Oh my god,
no.
I just
Oh,
I
God.
just
Oh.
noticed
Oh,
that.
no.
I just minimized so I could look at my icon and why?
My favorite one comes from Sony, or Sony, I don't know what the fuck it is. If it is Sony, give back the rights to Spider-Man. Sends $2.79 Canadian dollars and says, Sonic, see these acorns across your face. For fuck's sake.
Well done.
One of the other two gentlemen, it's just been me and Pup so far. Want to take this amazing one?
Sure. Oh god, sorry, I was stretching. Jeremy Montoya back at it with another $50 donation super chat. I always look forward to my 4 Sonic dads talking about a blue hedgehog that goes fast. You guys make Fridays way past cool. P.S. If you guys got divorced, I wouldn't know who I'd choose to do it.
Well,
Who
I
would
got,
stay with?
I got you that toy helicopter you asked for, but I just want to note the word you're looking for is daddy when it comes to me. So,
Oh, okay.
I think it's
okay.
time for another poll. Let's see.
I'm
Who's adopting
I'm-
Jeremy?
who you gonna
I'm-
live with?
I'm taking Jeremy. Jeremy's staying with Wayne.
I'm
No,
gonna
we
put a
gotta-
poll up.
Put up a
who you-
poll. It's
gonna
up.
do the
It's
poll.
up for our.
You want to live with?
Jesus Christ.
Well,
Do
while
not-
you're doing that, Cirrus, you want to take the next one?
Oh sure, I'll definitely
two,
take
I
this.
guess,
I'll
actually.
I'll take this one. It's from Aka Shoden, $10.
Thanks, Shoten. How about you take Jamie's? Jamali.
And then Jamie Chevalier, it looks like. Thank you very much.
Chevalier.
Chevalier. Oh yeah, right. We did this already. I screwed this up before. I'll screw it up again next week.
You're as bad as Nick with the name Dalek.
Dalek. Oh my god. After the colors fiasco this week, I definitely needed to hear you guys talk about my favorite classic game. CD gets more fun the more you memorize. I do actually agree with that because that's kind of what my experience was. It was like when I was going in blind, I hated it, and then like as I started to memorize
For
levels, I'm like, oh,
fuck's sake!
yeah.
Look who's
Nothing
winning.
noteworthy, you son of a bitch.
You're not wrong.
Oh boy. God.
Oh,
well,
boy.
James,
There's a lot to
yeah.
unpack there. All right, let's move along.
Go ahead.
Well, who wants to? What's next, and who wants to read?
You're next if we're going down the table.
Oh, okay.
We'll just start
okay,
from the
so-
table. Go forward.
That Jordo, that one in particular, sends $5 and says, all I've learned from this stream is that Pup is so infectious you have to preemptively wear a condom just to be safe in the same room as the dog. I could feel my ego just growing as I read that one. I'm about to become very insufferable, so...
I will say that I did get a comment on that Sonic Colors review saying that they could feel your influence dripping into my content. So
Oh, I do love dripping things into you, Wayne, I must admit.
Why?
That Jordan came back with another $5. No. Dude,
That's-
just put it in there. You put it in there. We put it in there twice. It's you and me. Goodness,
Yeah,
yeah. We just have to
okay.
decide who's doing that going forward.
All right. Do you want to read
Um,
it again anyway?
I'll read the next. Well, no, Jordo did actually do another one. I don't know if any of you have played Sonic Time Twisted, but it's fascinating how it makes time travel mechanic in an S3K style game. I've not tried it yet. Have you guys touched that game at all?
I have not.
I haven't touched anything in over a year.
So that's yeah.
I'm not
I guess that'll
familiar
go
with
for a
it.
fan based one. I've heard of it, but I've not played it. I'm interested to check that out. I should have assumed that would have had time travel though.
Is it official?
No. It's,
Well,
it's a
then
fan
it's shit.
game. So,
Pup hates
let's just keep going
everyone.
down the table here, sir. So we want to take the next one.
Yeah, this one is from Letteric, and it is a incredibly generous $50 donation. Just says, just take some money.
Imagine
Fine.
having
for you,
money.
Ledric. Thank
We,
you.
Couldn't
we
be me.
will.
Couldn't be me.
We will take.
We
that
appreciate
money.
it,
Oh my god.
especially since I'm going to be without a job soon because
And-
I'm so weird. I'm so stressed about that. It's fine. Anyway,
It'd be okay.
Coming soon. Regret.
Wayne, your turn.
Aiden F, $5. Love the show. Binged all the episodes and couldn't get enough. Do you think a Snapcube fan dub of Colors would be better than what we actually got?
What's Snapcube?
Please, a
Snap
dub
dub.
by
Sn-
Surus's asshole would be better
so-
than what Pontac and Graph came up with.
Snapcube, Penny Parker. She helms that real-time fan dub of Sonic Adventure 2 that the "Hello, I've come to make an announcement" thing comes from.
Yeah.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah,
Give
all the
give
best
to the
Sonic
cast of
memes.
Sonic and Tails are.
Yeah. Honestly, it's like I don't know, there's something about the whole like would it be better than what we got? I don't know. I don't like the blanket statements like that where it's just at the end of the day, I do want to remember that it's like real people working on all the projects, even the professional ones that
Right.
we get. And
Yeah.
it almost feels like a personal slight against the porting team that worked on Sonic Colors Ultimate. And I think it's worth remembering we have no idea what kind of time frame, budget, or what kind of conditions they were working under. I don't know. I feel unfair.
The words of a man who jacks it to the Sonic Colors cutscenes, everybody.
I think that was the thing I grilled the hardest in my review.
Yeah,
I think
you
most
did.
people were. I don't think none of these are nothing's above critique, but yeah, I
Yeah.
do agree. Some people need to
Apart from
kind of
me.
chill out with the personal attacks for sure.
Fuck you,
And
Pontac and
I
Graph.
don't think
personally
Aiden
hate you.
I don't think Aiden meant it that way. I don't want to point fingers at them. I'm just saying that it's like something personally that I don't feel super comfortable with saying on my own.
You are a couple of hillbillies.
I
What?
do live.
So-
I do live in Georgia.
Pup-
That's like 90% of us here.
Is it
Pup,
my
it's your-
turn?
Yeah, it's your
Yeah.
turn.
All right. Okay, let's have a look. Where are we at?
Right
Ah,
under Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I found it. That Jordo says, "Yeah, lol, not quite the same thing, but every time I whistle the Chow Garden song, I somehow always transition into September by Erd Wind and Fire, lol." Now, I don't know. I don't know that, but I fucking love September. It's impossible not to like that song. If you don't like that song, I don't trust you.
I don't. Oh, I know September. Yeah, that's a good song.
Oh, it's such a good song. Oh man, fuck.
I guess it's my turn. Anim Soltron sent $4.99 our way. Thank you. This happened to my buddy Eric once.
I understand the reference. Do you guys get the reference?
I don't. Can you
I
explain?
don't.
that
So
to me?
basically, you know the Joker movie.
Yes.
So on Letterboxd, someone left like a 4-star review saying this happened to my buddy Eric once.
Hello,
That's
my
so
name
good.
is Eric, and I am about to become the Joker.
Society.
That's so good.
I guess we
Society,
really
lol.
do live. Now, Surus sends no super chat, but says, "Be right back, restroom today at 18:57."
I'm gonna get rid of my my extra comment here because it's just being redundant. There we go. I think. Yeah, there we go.
Right
All right,
then,
Sturus, it's your turn.
All right.
Oh,
So this one is from Superstatic Pro. Thank you very much for the $5. The angel statue in Wacky Workbench looks very close to Illumina. You know, that pink angel-looking lady that shows up in the last cutscene of Sonic Shuffle.
Oh
Is-
yeah, sure. I've played Sonic Shuffle.
Is she bangable? Do you
Well,
think there's any
being
Rule
imaginary? It's kind of
34?
hard, isn't it?
Do you think there's any Rule 34 of the Wacky Workbench statue? Knowing my luck, it will be the bad future version, though, it's just Dr. Robotnik.
If there is literally any character in the Sonic franchise that doesn't have Rule 34, then we need to keep it safe.
We
And
need to
we need
make
to-
it happen. We have to conquer the entire lore.
I can't.
I
I'm not happy
cannot.
about
Now
I
that it
will
has
not
been
rest until I've seen every Sonic character's nipples.
Now that it's been talked about, the Rule 34 literally is if it exists, there's porn of it. So now that you've said it,
We
if there
can't
is
break
not,
the rule. We can't break the rule. God damn it!
I wanted us to be one of like the go-to Sonic podcasts. I just wanted it to be like nice and professional. and-
We're better to the go-to Sonic podcast. We're the go-to and runaway Sonic podcast.
we're way
Uh,
past cool.
We're complex.
We're way past go-to.
Anyway, whose turn is it?
It was actually your turn.
I believe
You
it's
didn't
Wayne's
read out a
turn.
Wayne's turn. It's Wayne's turn.
Yeah, but you skipped yourself on
Wayne's
this
turn,
first.
party
You
time.
cheat.
I did
from
not skip any of them. I did the Joker one.
Oh yeah, you did, didn't you?
Yeah, I
my
did.
bad. Ah, okay, all right. I got nothing against you, man. We friends. We good. We good. Forget the knife
Anyway.
stuff. Forget it.
from Trey. Thank you. From Trey Nobles, $5. Thank you. You you all look terrifying, which isn't too different from the norm. Love you all. Love you too, Trey.
Thank you, Trey.
I refuse to acknowledge your existence. Pup, it's your turn.
Okay. So the Evil Delic says, "Are we going to talk about CD's place in the timeline? For me, it's definitely after Sonic 2, because why the hell would Eggman go from metal to Robos? Well, he's a very inconsistent guy.
Well,
I know
Uh,
that there's the Ian Flynn thing.
I mean, he gave his theory, and it makes sense. Which is, I think it's less fun, but just narratively wise, he's just like, look, it's just after Sonic 3 Knuckles, it's its own separate adventure. It makes sense why, after all the Sonic robots, we land on metal, we stick with metal. And I agree. Like, if you gun to my head, like, had to do something with it, it's just Sonic on one random adventure
I won't
doing
lie.
that. It is the Occam's razor in a very messy continuity.
I
but-
prefer Mecha Sonic, man. He's so much cooler.
But they also go out of their way in Sonic Adventure to show both Mecha Sonic and Metal Sonic in the same thing, which could imply that he's working on both robots doing their own different thing at the same time, which is an interesting idea. But
Then he ends up slapping their parts together to make Metal Overlord.
I have a hard time like not keeping it between 1 and 2 because just gameplay wise more than anything else, but narratively I would probably stick it after Sonic 3 Knuckles. But being a time travel wonky doodly thing, who can actually say?
See where the Sonic 4 saga began.
Oh my god. Anyway, so the next one is from Emmy. Is it MU or MU?
M-U-M-E.
I can tell you it's not Emu.
It's
No,
Emu
know,
Emi.
it's
Emu
You
Emi.
think
MU.
since I was there for that conversation, you think I'd remember better, you know?
Oh, that's
You'd-
right.
you'd
That's
think
right. You
you
were,
would.
in fact, there for that. Yes.
But
So this is
no.
definitely 100% directed at me. I mean, come on. It's a
Well,
dog,
no,
right?
No, but so she sent a little dog animation, but like when we copied it over to our chat in Discord,
It
it
just
literally
says
just
dog
says dog
animation.
animation.
I typed that because I couldn't copy anything else. Okay, I couldn't do it. I couldn't. But like,
So-
yeah, it's
but-
very cute.
We sincerely, we gotta throw some super chats her way. Even though no more super Sonic and Tails are, damn it.
She still
yeah,
has
no, but-
premieres for new songs.
Yeah, Trey, Emmy, like that whole crew just wrapped up Sonic and Tails R. That's why we started as late as we did, and this is how you can tell I'm tired because I didn't even mention that at the top of the show. So I apologize for that. It's
I
a beautiful
naturally
thing.
did too.
It's great to have it all like finally together and completed. So if you've not checked that out yet, if we are talking about Sonic fan projects, that's a must listen. Absolutely.
Welcome to
Yeah.
Low Energy Set City.
Sun is setting on my exhaustion.
It is.
Anyway, Cirrus, I think it's your turn.
The next one we have is from the Evil Dalek. No, it's not. No, that's one
The
that
Evil
just popped
Dalek.
up. It's one
Oh,
that
right.
just popped up. Hold on, wait. No, there we go. Okay, this one's from Mr. SP. Thank you very much for the $10. So, do any of you actually know anyone who thinks this is the best Sonic game? Personally, I do not. So it's personally, I do not know anybody in my life that thinks it's the best Sonic game, but I do remember a time on the internet in the ye old era of everybody has top 10 list channels, where Sonic CD was being heralded as the best of the Sonic games repeatedly, especially by Screw Attack.
Yeah.
It's going to be the best by people who don't actually play a lot of Sonic games. If it's their favorite, that's fine. And back in the 90s, it was definitely doing some really interesting stuff and really bold stuff. And it, again, when you compare it to a lot of other platformers that were out at the same time, this is still a really good game in comparison to most of what else we had out there. But I sincerely doubt anybody who considers this the very best of all the Sonic games is saying that both objectively and with the obsession over the franchise like a lot of us have.
If you
So-
think Sonic CD is the best one, I will not be your friend.
Oh, there you go.
So that's all I
Well-
have to do to end this curse?
You think Sonic CD is the best one?
No, I don't actually. I'm not gonna
Well,
lie
there
to
you go. Curse not over, bitch. Stop trying to lie to me. I'm worth more than that, man.
Cry into your pizza, Cirrus.
There is no
Oh my
pizza
God.
left.
Oh,
Christ.
a fun.
No.
There really is no upside to this. game.
This one's me. So Ryan Darklaw 643 sends $5 and says, "Do you feel the fandom attacking the staff behind the scenes too much? Like,
Too much
give me
like
a second. Do you feel the fandom attacking the staff behind the scenes too much? Like unhealthy obsession too much? Okay, so I think I understand the sentiment behind this. And the answer is yes. People get really vitriolic towards the staff when a lot of it is like yelling at a cashier or maybe coming into somebody's store and then like talking loudly about how the secondhand prices are all bullshit, and they're going on about these conspiracies around other customers about how, like, you know, it's all scam and everything.
There
I'm
is
not
stuff to
bitter.
unpack there,
Um,
isn't there?
God, I
Welcome to Sunset Therapy, Wayne.
fucking hate my job sometimes. I don't hate my job. I hate the people that come in. Nah, it really is. It's just we're people poking a stick at the wrong individuals, and it's just like you're dealing with the people that are working with the best that they've got. They're getting handed table scraps, and then they're being told to do something with it in a very short amount of time. A lot of the times, I see something like Sonic Colors Ultimate in a very similar frame to a rushed licensed game springing off of a movie, where it's just like, well, we need this. You guys are a house that does this sort of thing. Have at it, and you got to do it in this time frame. And stack on top of everything else that's been going on this year. We don't know these people personally. We don't know what they were having to do with behind the scenes, and it just feels incredibly unfair. Yes, the product itself is not above criticism, but the team itself should not be dealing with more criticism than what is due. And
I'm
it's,
gonna, yeah, I want to double on that, but at the same time, I think it's more about how you bring out that criticism, and because yeah, we don't know exactly what happened. Even, I mean, we're not game developers, not by any stretch of the imagination, but at the same time, some blame needs to be lying at the feet of the development team, as well as Sega themselves, who seem to be the consistent problem here. But at the end of the day, you have to remember what you're critiquing and what you're saying. Even if you're
Like-
talking to somebody who made the decision to rush this game out the door, this is still just a video game. And you need to keep that in mind. This is not a war criminal. This is somebody who just made a dumb move, and the best we can do is just voice our opinions in videos or frustration and comments, stuff like that. But like don't make it a personal thing. Don't get crazy about it. Just be like, look, I'm not happy with what you did here, and especially for a game that I cared about deeply, and this is kind of a slap in the face. And like all that's fine to say, but like, yeah, like at the end of the day, these are human beings. We're all human beings.
It's like I clown on Pontac and Graf just as much as the next guy, what with them being MUME's favorite writers ever and everything. But like,
Oh my god.
you got to remember they've probably got to work within certain guidelines set out by like some upper fucking guy that doesn't know what he's talking about.
You
But,
gotta stop with that blowing up your mic thing, man.
I'm
Go
not
for
blowing
it.
up my mic. That was a genuine cough, dickhead.
No, that actually
But,
blew, that actually
that
hurt.
did. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. That was just a genuine cough. Well, anyway, like the truth is, nothing personal, kid. You know, like
Nothing personnel.
yeah, hate the product, not the people. That's what I'll say. Unless the people are like racist or something, then in that case,
Well,
whose turn is it anyway? Oh, it's mine, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, so we got the evil Dalek back again and said, "Evil Dalek pup, what the fuck? Have at thee with 2 swords." Sorry, buddy, but the only sword fight I'll be doing is with my PP. Yeah. So yeah. Moving along. Nick.
So Storm Kenway, 2 pounds. Missed the chance last time for this. So pup 4 p.m.
That stands for Prime Minister, and yes, I would do a million times better job than Boris fucking Johnson.
Well, no arguments there. People are bringing up good points about Sonic Colors. We're not talking more about Sonic Colors. I got a video coming out. We all have videos.
We've
Either
all
out or
talked
done.
about it enough. We were tired of talking about Sonic Colors Ultimate before it came out.
Yeah, no,
maybe
there's.
we
I'm
can
not
Sonic
saying like
Colors.
they did some okay things. We're just remembering like at the end of the
Yeah.
day,
Right?
keep
Just trying
yourself
to
in
keep our
check.
yeah.
Right?
Like,
are we
Don't push up drama just because you want to be mad at something.
are we done with these incredibly awkward things that we have to do that we don't like doing at all, and that people definitely shouldn't
We
do?
love you all. We very much appreciate all the
sincerely do.
donations. Your generosity has been so great.
It
And
makes
we
me feel very coy.
No, you guys are the best.
It's honestly always really humbling to be doing something that to us is just us talking about a thing that we love, but that other people feel that is worth financially supporting. It feels weird, it feels humbling, but it's also one of the best things in the world. So thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Just seeing you all showing up to hear what we have to say, just it makes me happy. Makes me happy.
That almost got weird.
Serious, you want to take that?
Sure, from the evil Dalek, I've got a Pepe, and it's at 2 power level.
Well, look,
Swords
man, if
crossing.
if you need to piss as badly as I do right now, we're gonna have a hell of a sword fight.
Guys just cannot handle your.
Damn, boy, you
urination
frying
and
chicken
calcity.
in there?
You know, Pup had a really rough time in his transition to the bathroom.
I would not make that joke, Cirrus.
Rouge would be really impressed with how loud I pee.
But he would make that joke.
And Cirrus, it looks like I'm just slightly winning out as the next adopted father.
I feel like I hit like the lowest ring of every poll.
No, you won CEO of the Dead.
Just
God damn it.
yeah, your most noteworthy thing you did was dying. You're literally the Gwen Stacy of this fucking.
Congratulations.
Just come back in a
Krillin.
super hot little onesie. Don't worry about it. We'll forgive you.
Yeah, just get your dick out, and then people really remember.
Just get your dick out. What?
Wayne, just
also,
do with
I
your
just-
character what I did with mine, and everything will be better.
I just want to point out,
I'm just gonna
once-
come in a Spider Gwen costume from now on.
once again, Tom Topics has dared to show up. He's had the audacity to show his stupid little hedgehog face here. I hate that man so much.
Where's my rent now? All right.
Can
Well,
everyone just
everybody.
please let him know that we hate him in the chat. That would be amazing.
Goodness gracious. Well, everybody, I think we've said all we can say. Thank you for this somewhat low energy retrospective of Sonic CD. But again, this is a game like I think we've all revisited. I've certainly spent like on my channel, I still remember like a few years ago, like I spent a lot of time on that video, and I'm kind of all CD'd out. I'm kind of excited to see what we're going to be talking about next week, but we appreciate you being here. We'll come back a little bit more powerful next time. And in the meantime, go check out Sonic and Tails R. Go check out all of our channels. You can find me at Fun is Infinite. You can find Cirrus at Fun is Infinite. You can find Wayne at Fun is Infinite. And you can find Channel Pup.
No, you don't
at
pull
Fun
that
is
shit
Infinite.
over on me. No, cunt. You find me on my channel. No fucking Fun is Infinite shit here. I'm taking the ad space. Oh, I said the
Alright.
C word again on a stream, did I? For
Pup is
fuck's sake.
infinite.
Stupid British.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
Oh,
Anyway.
Evil Delic is back. He says, as a Delic, I have 3 parts, all made of metal, apart from
Just
that
gonna say
organic
Delic.
squid thing that lives inside you.
Right. There is that.
All
right,
right,
guys.
everybody.
Yep. I mean, if you want to read out your ad stuff, you go for it. But I'm
Plug.
I'm tired. You know where to
Right,
find
but
us.
Butthole away,
Also
guys.
tired.
If you want to hear me very tired at the end of a 10-hour stream ranting about my problems and also things I enjoyed about Sonic Colors, for some reason I thought it was a good idea to make that into a video, and that's up on the Nekosaurus channel for reasons I still cannot quite understand. Sleep deprived me is a different individual.
And if you want the best fucking content shooting down your urethra 24/7, be sure to subscribe to Channel Pup on youtube.com.
Wayne, do you
Um,
want to?
Yeah,
Are you special?
Yeah.
Are we done? Can we go now?
I
I
guess
order
I did upload my first Sonic video. Did better than I was expecting it to. It's literally just me just kind of going at it with Sonic Colors and kind of addressing that I don't even think the game's that bad. So taking on its own merits, if it works and it functions just the way it's supposed to, I think the game is okay.
So therefore, there's no reason to watch your video now.
No, I elaborate in the video.
Bad at marketing.
He
For
says
fuck's
those words that he just said, but for 10 minutes. There you go.
I
There's
remember
your
the
sales
day
pitch.
fucking Colors Ultimate came out, and you were like, "We shouldn't do a podcast on Colors Ultimate. You are fucking terrible at marketing, Wayne."
I didn't want to. I didn't
Get
care.
good marketing.
I don't want to talk about Sonic Colors. It's not an interesting game.
I'm literally going to take you on a transatlantic flight and throw you in the fucking sea.
Are you going to
my God.
throw them into Sonic CD, the Bermuda Triangle of the Sonic series?
Let's just go. We're done.
I'm proud of
I've had
that.
enough.
I'm proud we got there.
Hopefully in a couple of weeks I'll have something much more exciting to announce for my channel. Well, more on that later.
Well, with
All right,
that said,
fine. If we're gonna actually plug, I'm playing many versions of Sonic's Colors. Jesus. I just got the Switch version. We're gonna be playing through that soon. I may wait for my Japanese copy of the PS4 one to come out here as well. It should be about 5 more days. We'll see. We'll see how the script wraps up there, but expect a very big Colors video. We're doing it every version of on my channel, so stick around for that. And I just released finally a new Sonic speed reading yesterday, going a little quieter than normal. That's probably because I was gone for like a month. So if you want to go support me there, definitely would appreciate it. So thanks, guys.
woo.
All right. Well, I guess the sun is sitting.
It's
I'm sitting
sitting.
on the sun.
You're going to burn.
If anything's to go by with all the bathroom breaks, the sun is shitting on this conversation.